Virtual insanity.
And I'm
Okay.
still singing. Like, come on.
Okay. Well, I
I'm
mean, at
just
least
saying.
it's 90s. It's
You know
90s.
what
So,
you know what I'm saying?
we'll give them that.
This is the return, the space cowboy. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying. I'm just saying. See,
Okay.
sorry, Patricia. I'm
All right.
sorry. I mean, you're the
Yeah,
youngin, so
yeah,
you
she
don't know nothing
barely
about
missed out on that because when
it.
she would
Yeah,
have
I don't
come
know
into
what they done.
her music, that
Yeah,
those
yeah.
Jamiroquai had kind of already
Phased out.
kind of
Right,
phased out. You know what I'm saying?
right, right.
So
He must
I
have came
mean,
for that long.
would you
No,
qualify Jamiroquai as a one hit wonder though?
not me
No, no,
He
no,
must
no,
have
because
no,
came
no.
for that
I'm not
long.
saying just you. I'm saying as a whole, because Virtual Insanity was really his only top charting hit.
I mean, but in terms of the production,
No, no, no,
the
no, no,
beats,
no,
all of
no.
that, like he's got a lot
Across
more
the board,
songs I like.
people that we call one hit wonders means they had one charting hit and then that's
I
it.
mean, he
And
might be
then he
considered
wondered.
in that department. I would agree.
I'm just
But
saying,
if you just love, if you like music, you get what I'm
I'm
saying.
not
You'd be
moving.
like, yo,
I'm not
like
moving the
that song was
goalposts
like.
for Jamiroquai. I'm not moving the goalposts. It's a standard. If you got a charting hit that considers it, you're a one hit wonder. If that's all you got and you fade it out, we got a
Hey
lot of
man,
artists.
so what about Milli Vanilli though? No.
They're one hit. They're when you look up one hit wonder in the dictionary,
Milli
they're like their
Vanilli's at
pictures.
the
The
top.
pictures there. Their pictures there. So
Yeah.
you know what? Unfortunately for some, I think the '90s was the peak of or the start of the one hit wonder trend
Yeah.
to me because a lot of the one hit wonders that we see still to this day are quantified from the 90s from
From the
all
90s
the
music.
because I think we'll get to that, but I think that stems from the record labels and them
Yeah.
figuring out that formula of how to just get an artist. And a lot of times those one hit wonders were artists that the record company kind of cultivated.
Right.
Wasn't really
Yeah.
something that people really might have liked, but they kind of put a package together and was able to present that package at that time. And
Might have
then
just been a homeboy or something, you know what I'm saying?
well,
That
they were
needed
never
to hook
able
up, you know what I'm
to
saying?
they were never able to
Capture the
repack
get the second, yeah.
recapture that moment. You know
Right,
what I'm
Right.
right,
saying? So because if you have an artist and that artist is a real true artist. Now I'm not saying the one hit wonders the one hit wonders aren't true artists
true
because a
artist,
lot of
right.
them are. A lot of them really are, right? But I
Yeah.
think a lot of these record companies pull people who they felt like would appeal to the masses, and they appeal to the masses for that moment, and then they just faded away.
It's very true. Because I mean, it is stated that all you needed was one hit. And if you knew what to do with that bread, like you were set because you made some good money off of a hit album, so a hit song. So I mean, hey, listen, all I know is the homie Jamiroquai, and if you don't know who Jamiroquai is, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I know
You
what to
might
tell
be
you.
too young, like
He's
Patricia.
a one hit wonder. That's what I know what to tell you. That's why a lot of people don't know who he is.
Okay,
I won't
okay.
say a lot
So
of people. I would say I don't know who he is.
I
well,
mean, you a
you know
young
what?
I
bug.
know
But there's going to be a lot of things we mentioned on this episode that you're going to have to do your Googles. You're definitely
Facts.
going to have to do your Googles. And some of this stuff, some of these names you might remember, some of these names you might remember, but don't quite remember the song. So you're going to have to
Right.
do your Googles. But that's why
Right.
we're doing this, right? We want people to dig and we want people to remember, either dig in your catalog and find these songs and re-listen to them, or jog your memory, dig in your memory bank and
no.
try to pull some of this stuff up. And for some people, we're going to introduce songs that are old that you never heard of before.
Right. Like
So,
for example, everybody wasn't up on Cypress Hill, but they got some banging albums,
Hey,
some banging
Cypress
songs.
Hill.
I think everybody was up on
Uh,
Cypress Hill, but
everybody was up on Cypress Hill.
yeah, I think everybody was on Cypress Hill. They maybe they weren't deep in the catalog of
Right.
Cypress Hill.
Or they might not have fully known. They knew who Cypress. They weren't deep in the catalog.
But everybody knows who Cypress Hill is. Jump Around. Everybody knows that
You
song. I don't care
should.
who you are.
You should.
I don't care
Yes.
who you are. Man, it's toddlers right now that could probably tell you who Cypress Hill is and Jump Around. You know what I'm saying? So
I gotta
Right.
agree with Big Kim on this one. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I mean, hey, I'm just saying, we're gonna throw these things out there, and hopefully y'all remember them. But what's the title, King? Golden Era, because man,
yeah, and see, you know
this is
what?
tough.
I'm gonna put it out there for the audience. Big Ken got a I got an advantage, you know what I'm saying, over Trish Michelle and over Benji, because I've been a DJ for quite some time. So
Right.
a lot of times I'm digging and finding songs, and I see a lot of this stuff on a repeated basis. So a lot of this stuff that, you know what I'm saying, that I'm able to regurgitate is because I've seen it so much.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? But Trisha Michelle
scratching and sampling.
Yeah, but Trisha Michelle has a different view, and it's gonna be fun to hear her selections because she's the youngest of the bunch. You know what I'm saying? So
The baby.
her view of the 90s is gonna be different from ours, because for us, we were in high school in the 90s, and then for her, she was, you know what I'm saying, junior high going into, you know what I'm saying, the high school ages.
You was in elementary school, right?
Well,
early 90s.
Yeah, it was up until 13. Till I was 13.
Wow.
So yeah, I wasn't even.
Yeah, she was junior high. So yeah, it's gonna be different for her. But we got some comments rolling in already. Let me attack some of these comments before we get into what we're gonna
That's
do.
what I'm talking about.
Comments already fired.
They're already firing on our cylinder. That's what we want.
We got Dan. I think Dan Tanner. He said Jamiroquai. Good lord.
But you know who? Hey, but Dan, you know who Jamiroquai is, though.
Yeah. And check this out. Okay, so we got now Trisha Michelle. You're gonna have to make sure. Okay, how do we pronounce this so I can make sure I pronounce it correctly?
Denisha.
Okay, Denisha. Okay, I just want to make sure because I know I know how my people are when it comes to pronouncing their names, and I told you all in the class that I was just in. The instructor always told us that somebody's name is the sweetest sound they can hear. So I don't want to, mispronounce anybody's name. If I do, my apologies. You know what I'm saying? Inbox me and let me know and spell it out for me phonetically so I can remember it, because that's one of my new skill sets. Yes. Okay. So she said the 90s was a revolution of music, especially hip hop, making its presence and stepping outside of the boundaries to send a message. That's 100% facts, right?
Definitely was.
I think
transcendent.
I think the 80s was, the beginning, but the 90s hip hop, that's why we call it the golden era for hip hop, especially because hip hop went to the forefront, right? Hip hop not only was, you know what I'm saying, and let me backtrack and let me clarify something for people, right? Hip hop is the culture. Rap is what they do.
Right.
So when people hear hip hop and rapper, it's not the same thing. It's being a rapper is part of the culture, right? Being a break dancer is part of the hip hop culture. How you dress is part of the hip hop culture. So
facts.
Because that gets misconstrued a lot by people who are not a part of the culture. So that's what we're here for. We're here to educate you a little bit.
Did you notice Ken is showing us his eyes tonight? He ain't got on. He ain't got the flap down on his
Why would I have the flap
down? That on purpose. If you haven't noticed, hold on. Let me tell you. Let me talk for him. If you haven't noticed, on the first episode of this trilogy, he did something that had something to do with the 80s. On this episode, we got a little segment that's representing 90s.
Yeah, he got the flip. He got the flip glasses. You know what I'm saying? I feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to coordinate with what we're talking about. I try to usually always do that, and sometimes it's it's a little hidden meaning behind what I have on. Just some, as people say, when you watch a movie and they tell you it's Easter eggs in the movie, and a lot of time what that is just hidden gems. And in the 90s, that began a lot too in albums, right? where you be listening to a CD and you just let it play instead of stopping at the end, and there was a bonus song that's not on the label that would be on the album.
On the album, right.
See, you gotta pay attention to those hidden things. And so there'll be some things, you know what I'm saying?
You
that
know who still
people,
does it sometimes?
who that? Usher does that. Jay-Z does that, you know what I'm saying? And he had that on a couple of albums. And some people still don't know where those songs are to this day. They heard the song. They don't
hair in this tight ass bun. It's from the 90s. But this shit is tight.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I remember those. And then also I remember in the 90s that a lot of women who had those, some had enough hair to make that, but there was also this styrofoam little piece that you could put in there.
I was telling my daughter about how I seen somebody before where the piece that fell off.
Yeah.
You're walking down the street, you see the tumbleweed.
Like hair coming up on the side. If
the
hair was enough to make it on their own, like you could tell on their little piece. And she was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I remember seeing that a few times in my life. If the hair wasn't long enough."
All right, so Dan Tanner said, "Was Color Me Bad a one-hit wonder?"
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think so, but the tricky part about it is they actually had two songs. I'm having a problem remembering the second song. But they had two songs.
I'm finna Google it right now.
I think if they had, I think they had two songs. So essentially, if they had the other song and the other song, I think did chart as well, that would pull them out of the technically the one-hit wonder. But you know, I think Milli Vanilli had two too. I think Milli Vanilli had two. Yeah, I think Milli Vanilli had two.
Yeah, Milli Vanilli had two. Girl, You Know It's True.
Yeah,
and then they had another song. I'm forgetting what it was called, but they had two songs that were because they got found out by then.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say
all for Love.
Yeah. I think them say I know they had two hits. So I mean that's borderline. We're gonna say it's borderline. We're gonna put it like that. It's borderline. It's pushing it. But either way, their careers didn't take off, and they're somewhere living a fairly decent life from what I've seen. You know, so shout out to them.
Here's the crazy part though. Color Me Bad sold over 12 million records.
Oh yeah. No.
They had two number one hits.
People still ask for that.
Nine top 40 hits.
People still ask for their songs. People still ask for those songs now. Yeah. You go to event in different events, especially weddings, wedding receptions. Right. People will ask for Color Me Bad songs. So yeah. All right. So the next one up, Dan Tanner said GeoPill Closer. That is a low-key smash, right?
Closer. How do you say it?
GeoPill.
That's how you say it? No, it's not. That's Guaplay.
Well, Guaplay, okay.
Google it.
Okay, Google Guaplay. I ain't never called it. I've been calling her that. It's a young lady. It's a lady. I've been calling her that since the 90s. But that song was fire, and then it was made re-popular by Drake. Drake sampled it and made his version of it and rapped over it on one of his earliest, I think might have been his first mixtape, but one of the earlier mixtapes, and he he brought it back to the forefront, so people began to listen to it and enjoy it again.
Never heard of it. My bad.
What? No, that's a vibe. You need to listen to that. Write that down.
Okay, Denisha said Mystical was around in the 90s. Yeah,
the whole Beats by the Pound.
No Limit. Let's get it correct. Yeah, Beats by the Pound is the production, right? The production. Right. We got. I got a list of record labels here. I had that marked on my list. That was the rise of the record label. Now, prior to then, there were record labels, of course, like Motown, Stax Records, so on and so forth, who had a lot of artists that they were pushing out. But in the 90s, it became like very popular to be, you had a chain, like you had an affiliation. And, it was like, okay, so, what record label are you representing? So we had Bad Boy, East Coast, Death Row, West Coast. We had No Limit. We had Cash Money. We had Suave House. Right. So big shout out to Suave House. Suave House put out a lot of artists. You know what I'm saying? That a lot of people really don't talk about anymore. But if you're from the South, you know who Suave House is.
Tila. Mr. Mike. It's a
Eight
whole
Ball
bunch
and
of
MJG.
yeah,
A Ball
Yeah.
and MJG.
So you
That's
had
something
So
everybody.
Def. So Def was huge. You know what I'm saying? Of
right.
course,
Mhm.
a lot of hits. Jermaine Dupri, Rap a Lot.
LaFace was out. LaFace was out
The
in the
face was no.
80s, but
No, no,
they
no.
were
Miss Murphy
he
was
was
up.
very popular in the 90s.
LaFace was huge because that's who Outkast was on.
Yeah,
Outkast was on
that's right.
Mhm.
LaFace,
That's
along with
right.
a lot of other groups. So
Right.
yeah, shout out to LaFace, L.A. Reid and Babyface. You know what I'm saying? Put that
Right.
together. So that was fire. But yeah, record labels became the thing. And if you didn't have a record label, it was kind of hard to break through because the record labels were
Yeah,
pumping out hits and
they
everything was like
were.
a factory, right? So it was like they had
Master P's deal had him pumping out as many albums as he could under his 85, what was it, 85-15 deal. Like he was like, that's why they called it Beats by the Pound, I guess, because he was producing so much music, it was nonstop on No Limit. Every
no,
time you turned around, there was a new album out.
they really you got to watch the special that was I think there was I don't forget how many parts it was, but it was a multi-part special that was on BET about No Limit and how they basically had a factory. They basically had
Right,
Beats by the Pound, and I forgot KLC and Moby Dick and all those
right,
guys. They would be in there producing like pretty much around the clock. So
right.
it was somebody I was in the studio. I was they had a ton of rappers. So and I love the way they had the family feel because somebody was always on somebody else's song or record,
Right.
right?
They was all on each
They
other's
was all
records,
on
right?
each other's stuff. So it was a continuous, and it was like for us in the 90s, we were going to Sam Goody. Shout out to Sam Goody back there. We were going to Sam
Blockbuster.
Goody every Tuesday to get the new albums. Every
Oh, yeah,
Tuesday.
Sam.
Hey, shout out to Blockbuster though. They used to have where you could go in and sample the album. They had the little album you could put on the headphone, the headset, and you could go in there and listen to whether it be a single or a piece of a song. Like they
I
had
think I
that in the
remember something like
Blockbusters there.
that. You could, yeah.
That's
I
how I
remember something.
first heard "Hit 'Em Up." I walked
Oh,
into the Blockbuster in the mall,
you weren't allowed to
Redbird
have it, huh?
Mall.
You weren't allowed to
Yeah.
have it.
Right.
Yeah, you went in there and put your headphones on.
Went in there, you know what I'm saying? We went in there and I was like, oh, we ain't seen this. So I put that joint on and I'll never forget the day, man. I walked in there, I was with my brother, my cousins, my uncles, all of us, and I put it on and I heard "Hit 'Em Up. And I was like, yo, I told my cousin, my brother, yo, you got to hear this pop going off on Biggie. Like it was crazy. Like, and that's how I first heard it. So that's how, for most part, I heard a lot of music. I would go to the little stores and grab me listen to the CD. So
Okay, yeah, I mean the comments are bussing, right? So
yeah,
let me try to
Hey,
catch some of these. All right, so yeah, okay, so on my square said "Color Me Bad" had hits. I Want to Sex You Up and Mia Moore.
yeah,
I knew it was two. Mia Moore was a hit too.
yeah.
So yeah, and then let's see, let's
They
scroll through.
also had
Diggable,
"All for Love,"
yeah,
which was a hit for them.
yeah.
For
She mentioned
Color
that.
Me
She
Back.
mentioned that earlier.
it has to
Yeah.
Yeah.
be.
Mentioned that earlier. All right, so Diggable Planets was a one-hit wonder. Sadly, yes. Sadly, I had to agree. Cool Like That. Everybody knows that
Cool,
song.
like
Cool Like
everybody knows.
That.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Ain't that
Unfortunate.
song they use in commercials and stuff now too?
They use
Still?
it everywhere, so they still getting
You're
paid.
like, I'm
Trust me.
cool like that. I'm cool. Like, yeah, okay.
Dun
Wow.
dun 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 dun
Yeah,
dun.
da,
Yeah,
da, yeah.
yeah. They making
Dang.
money. Hopefully. Well, let's say this. Let's not say they're
So that's
making
one
money
thing about the
because the
90s.
90s was notorious for these new deals that they were
Yes.
coming up with, where a lot of artists were getting jerked for their publishing.
I was gonna
Right.
say that earlier when Benji was talking about how there was one he said, but they get paid. I was like, well, the contracts was shady back then.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
A lot
The
of people
big
got
time
jerked.
shade. And a lot of them, they was just interested in making music and they didn't understand having the rights and
Yeah.
all of that. And the song was
They
a
weren't
hit.
reading
And
nothing.
I
They was
mean,
signing over their souls and weren't reading nothing.
Well, they just
exactly.
wanted the money. They saw
Right.
the dollar signs and we live and we learn. And I think because hip hop was at its infancy, you know what I'm saying? Like in those
Yeah.
times, and it hadn't become, I think, well, it's not wasn't its infancy. Let me take that back. Its infancy was in the 80s. Then in the 90s,
Right.
we were like, junior high-ish, high schoolish. It grew with us technically. If you were born in the 80s, like me, I was born in 80, so hip hop really grew with me. So as I
Right.
was in
Right.
junior high, hip hop was in this junior high, what I'm saying, in high school stages. So you
Mhm.
becoming more knowledgeable, right? The
Hmm.
artists became more knowledgeable, the record labels became more knowledgeable too of how to get over on artists as well. So it was
They
Right.
good. The
sure did.
education piece of it was going back and forth, but let's just say a lot of learning was happening. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying?
Yeah. You
So
either learned and was smart or you learned the hard way, but learning was happening.
yeah. So okay. So Mike Lampkin said MC Breed.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Now Breed had some songs that we like because him and Pac. I gotta get mine, you gotta get yours. But
Yeah,
there's also songs with Pac on it
he
that I
had
like.
two
So.
songs, I think, because he had this song called Diddy,
Hmm.
due to Diddy, and I think he had another song too, but he had songs with Pac. He had songs on a couple of
Right.
soundtracks, and we'll talk about those soundtracks as well. But
Right.
yeah, he appeared on a lot of different stuff. But if you want to quantify him as a one hit wonder, you probably can,
You probably can. Yeah.
because as far as what we said earlier, as far as the requirements for a one hit wonder, it was
Yeah.
definitely there.
Ain't
So
no future in your frontin' was hit. So
yeah,
he
so
ain't no
yeah,
future in your frontin' was popping though. So
he had two. Yeah, so
right.
he had just like some of the others. He had two, and you know what's crazy? I guarantee you, with some of these hits that we're talking about, one was a B side, and
Right.
I want
Right.
to explain what a B side is. When people talk about B sides, that means a lot of times they're referring to what we have with the vinyls, right, or the tapes, where you have on a single, you have
Mhm.
one side that's the A side, that's usually the hit.
Right.
It's usually the
Yeah.
single that the record company wants you to
Right.
hear. And on the B side is the song that, what I'm saying, is not as good as
M-
the A side, but a lot of
Might be.
times the B side songs is what hit and what actually the people really liked. So the B sides took off. So it's just weird, what I'm saying, because the record companies only pushed out what they thought the masses would hear. But
Right.
then when you got the full album or the full CD or the full tape and you listen to it, a lot of times the singles weren't your favorite songs.
That's very true. Cause they got played all day on the radio the radio, so you heard it a lot already. So you was
It's
looking for
true.
something new when you got the CD or the song or the cassette. So
That's true. All right. So we got Mike Lampkin saying, what about the DOC album, Funky Enough?
I mean,
That's a classic, but
classic.
DOC gets an asterisk next to his name. Shout out to DOC because he's from Dallas, Texas.
Right.
But because of that, terrible accident that ruined his voice, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like
Oh,
I
Funky
put
enough, the formula.
yeah,
Like he had he
I put
I
him in that
mean,
category of a Brandon Roy, right, in basketball, where
right.
he was promising, talent promising, and he still turned out a lot of stuff because he ended up writing and helping on a lot of projects with Dr. Dre and a lot of different artists, but we never heard his voice again because it was ruined in the accident.
Accident. Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
and
that man's pen and production, that boy was immaculate.
yeah, he helped
So
write a
yeah.
lot of stuff on Doggy Style. Did a
Right.
lot of stuff on Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style. But I'll say this: he is one of the few artists that they're talking about now doing an AI album and utilizing his voice
His
and
voice,
allowing him
yes.
to rap and utilizing his voice with the AI technology to make an album. So that's gonna be
That's
interesting.
gonna be pretty crazy. That's gonna be interesting to see how
Yeah.
that voice comes out over some tracks. So
Well,
yeah, that's
from
gonna
what
be
I've heard
interesting.
of the AI stuff so far, it's probably gonna be spot on because I've heard some Drake stuff, AI Drake,
Yeah.
and it sounds
Yeah, Drake, from what I understand, Drake got a little heated. He was like, hold
yeah,
on, like
it sounds just like
that
him.
sounds just
So
like me,
yeah,
right?
it's crazy. All right, so we got CNC Music Factory. Yup. This was one of my songs though, of mine back in the
Back in
day.
the day.
Back in
Oh
the
yeah.
day, back in the day, yep, because I mean,
Yeah.
he did just have that one song. If you follow hip hop and you follow rap, he had some other stuff, but wasn't nothing, on that level of back in the day. Back in the
Right.
day was in movie soundtracks and all kind of stuff. I think it
Yeah,
was
that
in
was the
Wood.
one.
Was it in the Wood
Mm.
soundtrack? I think it was in the Wood soundtrack that came. It was
Back in the
like,
day.
yeah, I think it was played multiple times in that movie. But somebody in the audience do the
Do your
Googles for
Googles
us.
and
Do the
find that
Googles
for
for
us.
us and find that for us. All right. So we got Lord Tariq Peter Guns, Uptown. Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
listen, 90s music gave us some we ain't even got to even our list.
Good.
Nobody's mentioned our
90s
list.
music
No. We
is
getting
most.
there. We getting there. Yeah, we
I know
getting to the
we
list.
gonna get there, but I'm
Yeah.
saying like none of the artists we've talked about yet have even been mentioned as of yet.
No,
And
because
we've
we've been
already
talking
went
about
through a
one hit
banging
wonders.
list of albums. Right.
I know you ain't got no
Yeah.
one hit wonder on your list.
I hope not, Benji.
Nah, cause ain't got no one hit wonder
I
on
know
my
you ain't got
list.
no one
But
hit wonder on your
If
list, man.
so,
I just want to know how people feel about a
if so, we
specific
know how
artist,
Benji
and we'll
did on
find out
homework.
tonight.
All right.
At this point.
Right.
And I got to keep giving my shouts out, and shouts out to the 90s music scene of Houston, Texas. For me, being a young high school student and then going to college in Houston, Texas, outside of Houston at Prairie View, like I took a liking to that culture of music. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Houston, Texas and DJ Screw. People know DJ Screw, you know that music through Drake now. You know what I'm saying? Drake is a big proponent of that, and he keeps putting it out there. So usually on most of his projects, he's gonna have at least one song or interlude that he's gonna have screwed and chopped.
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? Shout out to them.
We grew up on Screw music. That was
if you from Texas, you know all about it. Now,
I mean,
people from
that's
other
how
areas
we actually used to find out what Bone was saying most of the time on their records.
Well,
is you got to chop. If you got it chopped and screwed, you can listen. You can hear them a little bit more if you didn't understand it. But I mean, hey,
that or if you bought the real CD, a lot of times the lyrics were in the real CDs if you bought them, but a lot of people didn't buy them. They bought the bootlegs and they didn't have the full. It didn't have the full insert, right? It just had the front part. It just had the cover. It just had the cover.
Back then, all the lyrics was in the pamphlet in the front of the CD.
I mean,
sometimes you just had to do what you had to do.
We ain't gonna sit there and act like I bought every album. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we went down to the corner liquor store and they had that joint in there, and it was just a cassette. But it just had the one little piece coming in the cartridge.
Bruh, I bought Ice Cube Predator album on tape. Shout out to Motions in Oak Cliff. Hey man, we went down. Matter of fact, me and my cousin Terry, shout out to my cousin, man. We went half and half on it. We shared that thing. You know what I'm saying? We went half on the tape. I think it was $5. Yeah, we shared the tape.
I bought the Machiavelli album at Big Daddy's down the street off Bear Street. They used to have
we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that
Yeah.
offline because I got something to tell you about that. All right, let's get to some of these questions that I have for everybody. Okay, so I want to start out by asking Trisha, Michelle, and Benji, how do you feel the music from the 90s impacted your life as a kid and then, you know, transitioning now to as an adult? How has that affected your life, Trisha, Michelle?
Patricia first.
Oh man, you know I had to go through these and write it down. See what I did. Let me see. But no, so like I was saying earlier, really it was from me like what up till I was born in 87. So I was 3. Up to 13. So yeah, 3 to 13. So really it was like where I got to like choose my own path of music, hear my own stuff, and like making my choice of like what artists I wanted, not just influenced by them back when we were doing the 80s. It was what my dad was listening to, what my older sister, what my older brother was listening to. So many of the stuff was like my artists, my album choices, and I started to listen to stuff that I still listen to today. So that's the stuff that I went through, what I thought I was going through, heartbreaks too, that I would go get the album and I play what I thought I was going through it too back then. I was like, older that I was not going through it. And that stuff I clean my house to now. But yeah, so for me, it was really, that was my era of heartbreaks and all that junk. So yeah, that stuff paved the way to help me grow.
That's funny. She said heartbreaks. You talking about prior to 13 and below? She has a heartbreak.
I still listen to that music. When I went into the age.
Oh, okay.
I pulled the Mariah Carey album out. I pulled that Whitney. I pulled that, you know. Yeah, I was going through it.
I mean, I think so. I think, I quantify a lot of 90s music as the soundtrack to my life, right? You know
Very
what I'm
true.
saying? So when I
Right.
hear those songs now, it sends me back into moments when I first heard these songs or when I was listening to this album. So, I mean, that's for me kind of what it means is, some days if I'm not feeling the best, if I'm just kind of like, man, in my own head, I like to listen to 90s music because it takes me back to a time when I didn't have to worry about all this other stuff that we have to worry about as adults, right? We were just chilling, having a good time, and it sends me back into that mode. So, that's kind of how I rock with it. Benji, how about you, man?
Man, 90s music helped me cope because that was a tough 87, 88 was tough. So I had to live life without a lot. So music, one of my favorite lines in a 90s album, Scarface the Diaries album, was I can't talk to my mother, so I talk to my diary. Like those are the things like because I love words. So like I'm looking for it. So 90s music was just pure to me because it seemed like we were getting this fresh breath of fresh air in music. We had artists out there, but then we started getting like crazy hip hop verses, dudes busting out with like lyrics that was off the chart, like dudes from the hood just coming out giving us like hardcore content. So like that for me was like helped me cope because of course what I grew up around music at that time it just hit different for me. But I took it as something that kind of helped me mentally kind of adapt to get over certain stuff. You get what I'm saying? Kind of like Patricia with the heartbreaks, right? As a kid or dealing with it, right? For me, it was like if I could hear 8 Ball and J hustlers talking about overcoming, or making something coming from the hood, you know what I'm saying? This, and that, dealing with whatever. Like that was those were like my therapy sessions. So like
Mm.
I listened to music and was like, yo, like that was banging. So that's when you start getting into the philosophy of it. And I thought that was like they were like our teachers for me because we
Yeah.
we grew up without like everybody coaching us. Like so when I sat down and popped in a record, like if it taught me something like legit on how to move, or how to maneuver, or how to act, or how to this, like and I got that from 90s music. That really helped me get over.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think music impacted us in a different way because I think for the music that we grew up listening to, it was more about storytelling for the most
Right.
part.
Right.
A lot of the rap was storytelling, and it put you, it gave you imagery, right?
Right.
Whether it was negative imagery, whether it was something you did or didn't want to hear, or you never seen before in your life, right?
Right.
So for some of us who were around, areas where we saw drug dealers, where we
Right.
saw crackheads, where we saw drugs being done, where we saw, people being shooting up drugs right in front of us.
Right.
Like, so when these rappers were rapping about it, we had a vision of what that looks like. And we're like,
Already.
dang,
Right.
somebody else is seeing what I've been seeing.
Right.
Right. And so you felt a connection with those artists because you're like, man, he's in New York, I'm in Dallas, Texas, and he's describing stuff that's happening right here. So we're far apart, but we're not that much different,
Right.
right? Yeah, a lot
And
of the
there
music.
wasn't and Ken, there wasn't a lot of like banging Texas artists or Southern artists at that
I,
time.
I,
Not
I,
not
I,
as
I,
much, not as much,
I, I,
not
I,
as much. There
I,
was
I, I,
there was a there was trust me,
no,
there
no,
was
no,
Gotta do his
there were
no,
Googles.
artists.
no, no, no,
Gotta
no,
do his
no, no,
Googles.
no, no, no. We're not
Gotta
doing that.
Googles.
You're falling victim. You're falling victim to the machine. You're
Right?
falling
Yeah, I
victim
hear it.
to the
Right,
very thing that you talked about earlier is radio play and
right,
you having access to certain things because I had cable my whole life.
right,
So I was able to watch MTV. I knew all the East Coast artists. That's where my love for music stemmed from, the East
right.
Coast first, right? Before I gravitated to a lot of Southern artists, but the Southern artists were out there. You just
Yeah,
had
no,
to
it
have
definitely
people
was.
around you who listened to them. And fortunately for me, I had a lot of older cousins because I was the baby of our generation of cousins, and they were listening to a lot of Scarface, a lot of,
Right,
you know what I'm
right,
saying, Texas rap, a lot of um I'm trying to think of some artists that they were listening
Scarface,
to.
UGK, we had Willie
Nah,
D, we had
we
Ghetto
had
Boys, we had some underground
we had
artists. Like,
DJ Uche. We had it was a
yeah,
lot of people from the Dallas area and from the Texas area that they were listening to. So there was a lot of music that was coming out of Texas at that point. UGK was one of them,
right,
bar none. Right in the
right,
90s, UGK was probably the biggest, most prominent group out of Texas outside
right,
of the Ghetto Boys.
right,
So, but you know, we had artists, but again, it came from the exposure that a lot of those artists were getting on those big publications like the Source magazine, like
right,
MTV, like
Yeah.
BET when they started with Rap City. So,
Yeah.
and Yo MTV Raps, a lot of the Yo MTV Raps covered East Coast because they were located in the East
located in the
Coast,
East Coast, right,
right? So a lot of the stuff that was covered in the Source magazine was East Coast because that's where they were located. A
right,
lot of stuff was located in New York and on the East Coast and in the hub. So, you know, that's where it was. Shout out to Mike Lampkin. He said Nemesis.
yeah,
Nemesis
Oh
was from
yeah.
Dallas. So,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it was a lot of different rap out in the South. But you know, we had our own sound, and really hadn't hit mainstream yet. But
yeah.
once it did, it took off because
Took off in fast,
now you can see the Southern influence on music as a whole,
right,
and
Right.
a lot of
Yeah.
music that didn't catch on then for the masses, people were able to go back and hear it, and then it eventually, it eventually took off.
right. That's
So
facts.
yeah. So but yeah, no, we can't say we didn't have,
So
what I'm
we
saying, the
go.
hits
No,
back
no,
Hold
no,
on
then.
now.
we had some because that's what we grew up on. Like I didn't get introduced to Pac until late '90s. Like I didn't hear the Me Against the World album when it first came out,
Wow.
or like I didn't hear that. Like I was the outside kid. I wasn't the
Wow.
kid stuck in the house. I was the kid outside
We was
pulling.
out. Benji, we grew up together. We was outside. Now you
I
can't
know
say
we
that
was
you didn't hear this
outside.
stuff. Hold on, hold on.
No, but
Now we
I'm
Right,
no,
serious.
okay.
I didn't hear the
Benji
Pac.
just
I didn't hear
wasn't
the
paying
Pac album.
attention because
Right.
we had a guy named Boo. Shout out to Boo. Everybody, if you from Lancaster, you know who Boo is. But Boo and his brothers used to be outside, and a lot of other dudes be outside rapping Doggy Style album verbatim, word for word, right? They would rap these albums that, of course, because they were in high school and we were kids. We were 11, 12 years old. We
Right.
didn't have access to this stuff yet, and they were teenagers and older. So they had music that we weren't able to access yet. So, we were hearing the raps through them. Or, what I'm saying, like I said, I would have to sneak and watch, Yo MTV Raps, watch Rap City The Basement when it came out a little bit later, to hear a lot of this music, right? But I knew who Tupac was, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I knew who
Right.
Tupac was not from the music at first. I knew who he was from Juice,
Right.
right?
Mm.
So, and we're gonna talk about those movies eventually as well. So
Yeah.
stay tuned for
Get
that.
into
But
that.
but Juice, that movie and that soundtrack, I think created a blueprint for some people, right? Because after that, like a lot of people, when they came out with the movie, they understood that the movie and the soundtrack, your soundtrack had to be busting too. If the movie was good, soundtrack gotta be busting too.
Better be fire.
Yeah.
Because if the
Like
soundtrack
you
was
gotta
fire, we was a
match.
mad.
You gotta
Yeah.
come with that energy.
All right. So what do you feel is the biggest difference between the music in the 90s and the music now? If you could pick one element and say, okay, this is the difference in the music. Benji, what's the difference between the music now and the music in the 90s?
I would, man, one thing. I
One
honestly,
thing.
I would probably just say, creativity.
Okay.
It's like people at that time. It was because it was all kind of fresh, so it kind of felt like it was waiting for it to break out. Like we was waiting to hear R. Kelly with Body Calling. Like we were really like this new sound, this new stuff was coming out, and it's like it was just this whole fresh level of music, but it was all different. Like it was just a creativity on a different level. So that's the way I would go.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Trish Michelle?
I'm gonna just say it just had purpose. Like
Okay.
it was put out with intent, like each track had like took the time and it just was a message or it was a like something that either they went through. And I'm not to say that those artists don't exist. Now people just they're just pushing it out and it's cool. Like You don't just get that true raw material, really. And if it is, they're influenced by somebody from the 90s.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't really have that anymore.
I agree with both of y'all. I feel the same way, and I want to say this. When it comes to what we call microwave music, we refer to it as microwave music because it has so many templates, and of course, technology has what I'm saying, enabled people to be able to go in and create quicker and be able
Right.
to pump
Yeah,
out things quicker because of the technology. And Master P got a lot of flack for that when he was first coming out with those albums every week, what it seemed like
Right.
every week or every 2 weeks, because they were like, how are you coming out with this much music this fast? It can't be quality. Because before,
right.
when an artist came out with an album, let's just say, shout out, rest in peace to DMX. DMX came out with 2 great albums in 1 year, and that
Mm-hmm.
was in '98. Right at the beginning of '98, he had Hell Is Hot, and
Right.
then he had Flesh of My Flesh that came out at the end of '98.
Right.
So that was big, right? To come out with that. And that's what made All Eyes on Me such a big deal, because it was a double CD. It
Double
was two
CD. Right.
albums,
Right.
right?
Oh yeah,
So it was a big deal to put out that much from one artist. Master P was putting out
Man.
everybody on the label had at least 2 albums in 1 year. And it seemed like it seemed like the No Limit era, as we call it, was a very long stretch, but it wasn't.
It
It was
was.
a
What was
short
it?
stretch.
What was that year? What was that? What they got about 2-3 years in?
I can't recall right off the top of my head, but I would venture to say from 96 to like 2000, they
Mm-hmm.
put out probably 50 plus albums, 50 plus
Right.
projects.
that's
Right.
We
insane.
talking about albums, we talking about they had movies, they had
Right.
soundtracks, they had Unbound It, they had a
I
bunch of
got
different
the
stuff.
hookup.
Yeah, they got that they put out, but I think I Got the Hookup came out after that.
Yeah.
But after that 2000 mark, but they had a lot of
Uh,
stuff. They had a lot of stuff that they were pushing out, but I think Master P had what a lot of people use now, which is a template that he
right.
was using to, what I'm saying, to get
Produce
these
music. Right.
artists to record and put in it. He had a formula for, for how he was
We ain't
able to
wasting no studio time.
facts.
And,
Facts.
and to be honest, Pop was kind of in that space because he was saying, like, because the way Dre would do things is the long 15, 16-hour studio sessions. And Pop was like, man, I can get in there and you got the beat, get in there, push that beat out, do it, let the engineer handle that's the rest of the stuff on the end. Let's get in the studio, push this album out and do it. So P was definitely doing that. You get what I'm saying? Get in here, we ain't wasting no studio time. Like, I'm gonna put out as many albums as I can, and he did it.
But let's talk about Tupac for a second. I mean, there's so much we could say about him, but he was one of those
Yeah,
guys. He had to be a workaholic, because if you look at his catalog of movies and music that he put out, and he
yeah.
passed away at 25. So
And
from,
still
I think, 21 to 25, a 4-year period, he did all that.
And
That
guess
is
what?
ridiculous.
He was only out
insane.
on bail. That's what
Yeah,
most people miss. He was only out
yeah.
on bail. He wasn't like it was a possibility he was gonna go back to jail. Like, he was literally on bail. He wasn't like it was crazy. Like so he went out there and had to get on his hustle, had to get on his grind because he knew his time was short. You get what I'm saying? He could have went back to jail or whatever. But I mean, listen,
I,
that
I think
work
it,
ethic is crazy.
I think at the end of the
And
day,
his
that's what
4 years,
drove
he
him.
outworked people.
Yeah,
Facts.
he did. And I think what you just said though, Benji, was key. I think he knew his time was short, not because of jail,
Yeah,
because he always talked about death. So
Right.
I think he had an inkling that
yeah.
his time was short in that manner too. So he knew he had to make the most of the time that he had. And
Right.
fortunately for him, unfortunately, he was able to put out all that work, but he lost his life at 25.
He
You
was
know what I'm
in the
saying?
Yeah.
studio working like a savage. They
Yeah.
say he
So
got 4 more new albums that's supposed to drop, like fresh content nobody's ever heard before. Something
I
like
don't
that. So
know.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know, man.
I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
You hear that type of stuff, and then you start hearing some of the songs that they talk about, and they
They all
kind of
sound the
release
same.
snippets. They kind
Yeah.
of are songs that he did, and then he took later on and used this bar from here and put
Yeah.
over here, so you
Yeah.
kind of heard
Yeah.
bits and pieces. So
Right.
it's kind of like the throwaways, as
Right, right,
you know,
right.
as we say, you know what I'm
The
saying?
stuff
So
that most people would say Master P was putting on an original album. So I don't know.
well, well, I mean, you gotta take into context in the sense of time, you know what I'm saying? Like you having everybody go in and spit bars. And for me, there was a lot of top tier artists on No Limit,
I
like
agree.
Mac, like Mia
Cain and
X, like
Abel.
Mystical. I don't know
I
about
love
Kane and
Cain.
Abel top.
I
I
love
would I
some of
would
their songs.
I wouldn't consider them a top artist. We can talk about
Not
that, and we can talk about that on another episode. But
on another
when
episode.
I say top
Soldier
artists,
Slim.
when I say top artists from No Limit, I would mention Soldier Slim. I would
Right.
mention Mia X. I would mention Mystical. I would
Mystical.
mention Mac. You know what I'm
Fiend.
saying? I would mention Fiend. I
Okay.
would mention. I think for me that would probably be the top 5
Right.
from No Limit. Right?
I'll agree. I'll
Yeah,
agree.
that would
Because
probably be
you
the top
Mia
5.
X and Mia X,
M-
Mystical,
Mia X was
uh,
arguably
uh,
the best. You know
best
what I'm
on the
saying?
whole album. Yeah,
People say Mia X was the best
I would
on
agree.
the record label. So I don't know, but
Yeah,
you know,
I
but
would
I
agree.
know
Now
definitely up
Mac,
there.
now C Murder's album. Listen, the song he did, that beat with Snoop, that was, yeah, that was sick.
But
With
I'm gonna tell you the most popular song ever from No Limit is "Down for My Niggas."
of
C
course,
Oh
Murder.
yeah, of
Snoop.
That
course,
C
That
Murder.
that
That's C
that
Murder's
beat
album.
that beat is
hands
ridiculous.
down.
Yes.
Let's get it clear. That's C
Like
Murder song. That is C Murder song.
That
So
yeah,
that that's that beat is sick. Like
like hands
that
down.
that beat is sick.
They
yeah.
don't care what people don't know. They know that.
Yeah, they're gonna dance to that.
They
You know
know
what I'm
that.
No
saying?
facts.
Even people from other races be dancing to that. I don't
Dancing
know if
for
they saying the word, but they dancing to it.
I think
Hey, listen, Mystical had some crazy songs on that No Limit album. So yeah, but he had some
Yep.
heat too.
All right. So, all right. The next question I want to ask before we get to our list is why do you think that with rap in particular,
Hmm.
out of all the other genres of music, why do you think that we place an age limit on rappers? Why do you think that's such a big deal? When you
Because
when
of
you
what they
when you
go
see a
ahead, go ahead.
country when you see a country artist, you don't hear them say he's too old to be singing country music. You when you see a R&B artist, you know what I'm saying? You don't say he's too old to be singing R&B. Nobody says anything about Usher. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Usher's been in the music industry for 30 years and nobody criticizes Usher. But when you see somebody like Jay-Z, be like, oh, he's still rapping? Why he still rapping? You
I
know what I'm
think
saying? You see somebody like
because
Lil Wayne, you say, why he still rapping?
I think it's because of what they talk about. Because it's like 18, 19, 20, 21, your early 30s. I mean, it's predominantly talk about chasing women, slapping folks, hitting her, freaking her, all that type of stuff. You get what I'm saying? Those are
yeah,
typically, but when we get to our 50s, you get what I'm saying? Like, I want to hear something a little bit more. It can still have that element in it, but like give me something a little bit more smoother, because by 50 55, you know what I'm saying, my nerves is a little bit different than I was when I was 25. You get what I'm saying? So you want something a little bit more creative, because I've been hearing you talk about that for 30 years. You
Well,
get what I'm saying?
I want to disagree, but you can
Go ahead.
continue, and then we're gonna let Trish Michelle answer. And then I'll answer. I'll go last.
Well, I mean, just for me now, is it still, can it just seems like as an artist gets older in hip hop, like the content isn't as thorough as it used to be in a lot of cases. Now it depends on who you are. You get what I'm saying? Like if you got skills, like you're a Buster Rhymes or you're a true lyricist, you get what I'm saying? Like there's just no limit to the stuff you can talk about or push through. You get what I'm saying? So you can kind of touch all phases. But if it's some artists are just, they're not as multi-dimensional as others. So by the time you get 50, if all you talked about is one particular thing, like, dude, we've heard that for like 30 years now. You've been talking the same thing. So
Okay, okay. I got a couple of examples. But go ahead, Trish
okay,
Michelle.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Trish Michelle.
um, I wouldn't say there's an age limit to rappers. I would say there's like a certain age group that's very impressionable by the things that they want to hear
Hmm.
and what they believe looks cool. and therefore there's a small window that they're still much, that they want to say, like, that they're it, or that's the trend, or that you can be trendy. So they don't fall off. They're just, they're following or grows with them and goes with them. And like this impressionable group moves and moves on, or they stay stagnant in whatever it is going on. So I don't think that I think it's just up to the artist itself. You want to stay with this, or you want to move on and do what you do. Like Jay-Z, when I started making an album, like we talked about after the show, about building your credit. Like, first it was Drug Money that he got it from, and now he went on to do it like this. So did he fall off? No. Like, a lot of people still find Jay-Z to be their favorite rapper. Like, so I don't think it's an age limit. I think it's the audience themselves. So it just depends on what the rapper is trying to appeal to. So I don't think it's an age limit.
Okay. Well, when I say age limit, what I mean is this is the public perception, right? When you look at a lot of these public platforms, and say, for instance, when Jay-Z came out with the 444 album, that's what was everywhere. If you looked on any social media, they were like, nobody wants to hear that. He's too old. He's a billionaire. Why is he still rapping? Why is he still even relevant? Rap is, I've heard people say rap is a young man's game, right? I've heard this countless times, and that's why I asked that question, right? Because for me, I think, as Trisha Michelle stated, your audience should grow with you, and I think a lot of great examples is Jay-Z, Nas, those guys who still rap, 30 years, almost 40 years later, but their content has grown with them, right? What they rap about, what they talk about now is life, and it's something that the audience that was listening to them 30 years ago can understand, because we're in those same spaces now. We got kids, we live in life, we pay bills, we do things that they do. Of course, we don't have the money that they have, so some of the stuff they talk about might go over your head a little bit, some of these brands and some of these things they discuss, but we get the gist of it, right? So I think, for me, I've always said, I think as a culture of hip hop, we should allow these rappers the room to grow, right? Lil Wayne, some of his lyrics are kind of similar to what he used to talk about, but a lot of it's not. If you really listen to it, it's grown with him, and he's matured, and he's talking about different stuff on a different level, or he's talking about what he's doing. So if he still smokes, if he still does these things, then hey, he should have the room to do that, because nobody tells Rolling Stones that they're too old, right?
To keep putting out rock albums. Yeah,
they put out rock albums. They're super old. They still sell out arenas.
They be looking like they gonna fall
over though. Right. You get what I'm saying? I listen, so a few of them always show up at the Laker games. Front row.
I mean,
and you be looking like, is that, and people know who they are, and you look at like, shoot, bro, look like he about to pass out.
You better know who they are.
But they still are artists, and they still have to make a living. So, you know what I'm saying? I think we should allow the rappers to do the same. If they're still, viable, Busta Rhymes is a great example. He just came out with a new album, and he has a whole bunch of younger artists on it, but he's appealed to the masses over these, last few decades, and he's kind of pooling everybody together on a project. But you still have rappers out there who get flack for rapping about the same thing for 20 something years. One of my guys, I listen to his albums. Pusha T gets flack right now because he still raps drug bars. You know what I'm saying?
And knowing like, he ain't selling dope no more.
This dude is 40 something years old, still talking about Pablo Escobar. Like, why? But hey,
and see, that's my point. Like, I get it. It can sound super dope in a bar or in a right, or behind a beat, but like for me, like if that, so for example, Kendrick Lamar, he's got a wide catalog, but the dude basically just did an album like it was a therapy session and made it sound like super dope. You get what I'm saying? So like, to me, it's just in the creativity as you go forward. Yeah, I know. Like, I love Sugar Free, no joke. Been since his first album, to the days when he used to be called Royal Rock, like way back when, right? he still talks about the same thing. And if you listen to his albums, like he's still talking about the same thing.
But he's
So
still doing
when I,
the same thing.
yeah, he still is, right? But then
But I think
as
that might be the thing. That might be the part. I think the stigma there is that most people say, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a rapper." Oh, you want to be a rapper? Like it's
right,
that frowned upon thing still that sits there when you hear a rapper versus I want to go be the international singer R&B thing. Like it doesn't nothing frown upon any other genre
right,
besides rappers. As soon as somebody want to be a rapper, there's drugs tied in, there's gangs tied in, there's
right.
violence tied in.
Violence. Yo.
So
Violence,
there's
right,
all of these negative things that are tied in with hip hop and rap. So then they say that, oh, you're still doing that. You're
right.
still doing these things. And so there's a limit, so to speak, because you should be over, you should be done with that now. When they
Or
because
at
they tied
least
that
be,
with it. But that is not the lifestyle. It is for some people, those people that
yeah,
are
it's a
still in
total
it, those are the
lifestyle,
people that
right,
are bringing that bad connotation to it. When there's these people like Jay-Z and stuff that they've been growing with it, and really they're rapping, it's music, it's like R&B, it's like country, it's like all this other stuff. It grows and gains money in, and is really a whole different thing. So I think
right,
that's why there is somewhat a mental age limit on it to the world, because there's stigmas that it's gangs and violence, because there is parts of it.
right,
So you
right,
should get out of that. You're over it now. Why are you still rapping? And that's where it's from, I think.
right. So
That's my
give me
Yeah.
take.
some, just give me on your album, because I can't lie. Listen,
I thought you
Snoop
were saying
and Sugar Free got a song on his album. I can't say the name right now, but if anybody who knows West Coast hip hop knows Sugar Free, it's "Don't Be Thinking with Your Boy." Like the beat, the whole everything slaps on it, right? So you can never replace just great songs when you hear them. But it's like, yeah, like I've been hearing y'all talk about that for like 40 years now. Like, give me
the
something
smile on
that's
your
like
face.
super dope.
But they
The
can't rap
smile on your
about
face.
something that they're not doing though, right?
Yeah,
No,
that's
Like,
the echo.
This is the dope thing that I love about Snoop. Snoop went from a hardcore gangster rap album going over to a southern label, rapping with some southern boys,
but that's
then
what he
created
was
a whole
doing though.
album,
But
Snoop
he is
Lion.
doing, he's doing
But
different
that's what
He's
things.
he's
doing
doing.
different things though.
But
Like,
no,
and
that's
He's
what I'm
that's
saying.
cooking with
But that's what
Martha
he's
Stewart.
doing though.
He's coaching football. He's really immersed in
he's
Like,
different
doing
things. So
multiple things,
but
right?
that's what I'm saying. Like
but
he's
so
doing those things. He's not rapping about
right,
something that he's not
rappers
doing.
are still
True.
talking about getting bitches and smoking on the corner because they still doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would. I mean, I would hope that.
So
Well, I
that's
ain't gonna
what
say I
Ken's
would
trying to
hope they
say
still.
is there's some of
Yeah.
these artists that
If
are still stuck in this
they're
circle because that's what they're.
yeah, if they're doing it, they're doing it.
That's what they're
Right?
So
doing.
you can't fault them because
So,
they're
If
so
still
do
on
you
the
think
jump.
Pusha T? Do you think Pusha T is still
listen, listen, listen.
Pushing T.
I
Pusha
don't
T
put
he's
anything
Pablo
past
Escobar ain't here no
I
more.
don't put anything past any of these guys.
Right,
We have
Yeah.
put artists on a pedestal before,
right.
and we pushed them, and we said there's no way they're doing the stuff that they're singing about. And lo and behold, Robert Kelly was doing a lot of the stuff that he was
Stuff he
singing
was singing
about,
about.
and
Right,
we were like, okay, it went over our heads because
right.
we were young
Money does not make
and we
you
weren't listening.
smarter.
We weren't
Now,
listening to some of the stuff that he was talking about when there's
He
an
was telling us
album
stuff.
from a
right,
15-year-old saying age ain't nothing but a number,
right.
and
That's
he's
very true.
singing on the song, and some of his lyrics on that song, that very song, you like, whoa. Now that you
Now,
listen to it as an
would
adult,
you would
you're
you
like,
agree
whoa.
that that's where some of the creativity comes from? Like, even
I mean,
though as
everybody's
crazy as it
inspired
may
by
sound,
something.
right,
I'm not gonna merge the artist and his creativeness with his messed up mind when it comes to what he had a taste for. I
right,
think he was. I, I think a lot of people that genius when it comes to artistic things also have some type of mental something.
right.
And I think that's where it was at, and we just didn't know.
I'm gonna tell you like this. In my estimation, everybody got vices. Everybody has a vice.
I agree.
Everybody
Mhm.
has something that you
I would
do
agree.
that other people would
Yeah,
deem it weird. Everybody has
Yeah,
something that you
yes,
do that
yes,
somebody else would say that is
I agree.
weird,
yes,
I
right?
agree.
But
yeah.
the thing of the matter is when you have celebrities, they're eccentric because they have access and they have money to
Yeah,
Right.
do things that
and they can
otherwise
cover
the
it up.
average
You
person couldn't
right.
do,
Right.
right?
They can shut
So
people up. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So I think
Mhm.
when you start, that's another thing we, we could discuss briefly is listening to music now and listening to some of the songs that you used to listen to back then because you have life experiences now. You hear it and you listen to it differently
Yeah.
because now you know what they're talking about. When you were 13 or
Yeah.
14, you had
Had
no
no
idea
clue. Yeah.
some of the stuff that they were saying, but now you listen to it, you be like, wait a minute, time out. Let me
Oh,
go
you're
back.
right.
Did he just
Like
say what I thought? Wow. I did
like
not catch that.
you hear some of the
Yeah.
lyrics and you be like,
I
wait,
didn't
wait,
catch
hold
that when I
on.
was a kid,
I
and I
was
was rapping it.
just like Candy by Cameo. Listen, man, he was talking about snouting. He was not talking about no real. So you go back and you listen to it, and then stuff. I don't want to put it out there, but stuff like Luther Vandross, somebody put a song and said, "Dance with my father again." He carried me up to the room. He was like, man, he was probably talking about, you know what I'm saying?
No,
So I mean,
no,
I'm just saying, like you go back
no.
and you listen to music,
I'm
and
moonwalking away from that. Shout out to Michael Jackson. Rest in peace. I'm moonwalking away from that. I will not slander Luther, Big Luther or Little
I
Luther.
will not partake in any of that
Yeah,
Luther
I'm
slander.
not gonna do that. Not doing that.
Hey,
Oh
I'm
my
just
God.
saying, you go back and okay, if you go back and
That man
listen
went
to
off the
some
deep
songs,
end. I'm not
He
doing it.
jumped
all right,
expeditiously off the deep end because good Lord.
shut down the Luther talk, shut down the Luther talk, stop.
No. Oh
Hey, yo,
man.
that's wild though. Hey, it's
We give
wild.
him Lord.
Listen.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into some of these lists, y'all. Okay, the first list we're gonna talk about, as I said last on the last episode, y'all, these are our list.
Right.
These are not your list. This is not your friends' list. This is not Billboard's list. These are the list of albums, artists, soundtracks, whatever we mentioned. These are our personal opinion. We wanted you to create your own list as well and talk about it
Told
with us in the comment and amongst your peers, right? Because I'm pretty sure there are going to be some albums, things mentioned, and some artists that you're like, I forgot all about them. And you need to go and do your Googles and listen to them throughout the day because I know a lot of you all work from home or you're back in the office. You need to have something to inspire you throughout the day. That's what music is here for, to inspire us, right? So,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Let's get to these lists. All
Let's do
right.
it.
So we're gonna start with the lady first on the first one, right? So
Get it.
we got the top 5 albums of the 90s. Y'all, this was extremely hard for for
Yes.
for
man,
for for them. For me, not so much. Right?
when I tell you,
Because y'all already know who my number one is. Y'all see the emblem. Y'all
Mm.
see the emblem on my chest.
Woo,
Y'all
woo,
already know
woo,
where I'm going with it. So
woo.
it
the
was easy
stress
for me.
runneth over.
It was easy for me. All right, Trisha Michelle, let's go.
All right, let's
Let's
get
hear
it.
that list. Let's hear that list.
So at 5, and I got my numbers. Erica Badu, Baduism,
Okay.
or Baduism, I mean, Baduism, yeah, Badu. 4,
No, keep going,
R.
keep
Kelly.
going, keep going. I'm
4,
you
R.
you
Kelly.
going you're gonna hear while I'm making that face when I get to
Oh,
mine.
I'm
But go
like,
ahead.
The
4,
Texas
R.
girl.
Kelly, R. Kelly.
Which R. Kelly?
3, which one did I put? Hold on. I think I was
Just
working. So hold on.
just say Body's Calling album.
No. We gotta do it right. We gotta do the albums.
I know. Hold on. Let me go back. I'll circle back to that one. Hold on. But R. Kelly, I'll give you the
Probably
which
12
one.
play.
I believe it's 12 play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that album. That album.
Yeah, it's 12 play. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it's 12 play. But Usher My Way.
Hmm.
That's 3. 2, TLC, Crazy Sexy Cool.
Hmm.
1, Miss Lauryn Hill. That's Education.
Whew.
Lauryn Hill.
Fire.
The one album that's been played. That's the only album she made, right?
And she don't have to
Yep.
make no more.
Yeah.
She don't have to make no more. That's one of the most perfect albums ever made. I don't care what nobody says.
When I say
a masterpiece. A masterpiece.
absolute. an absolute. When I will play that album all the time.
Can I
The
be honest with
interlude,
y'all?
the songs, the interludes, everything.
Can I be
Masterpiece.
honest with y'all? I've never
Yeah.
listened to the whole album.
You tripping.
Shut up.
I'm not. I'm
You
not even.
tripping.
I
I'm
mean,
not even
don't shut
lying.
up.
No.
But,
You tripping. You are
I,
tripping.
yeah.
I've
You
never
are
listened to
tripping.
the whole album. I
Yeah,
never
you
listened to the
definitely
whole.
tripping. Yeah, that man
Yeah.
said he haven't listened to Miseducation Lauren Hill. My God,
The
you
whole
tripping.
album. I haven't. I haven't.
Yeah, you
The whole
tripping.
album. I
Yeah,
haven't.
Okay,
you
so
are
Benji,
definitely.
this week we need you to do that. We need you to put that on. We need to put that on your list, and
And
then
yes, it's
next
12
week
play. I had to go
we
back
can
and look.
ask him what he talked about. We can ask him what he heard in that album. I'm sorry, Chris Michelle.
I'm gonna check it out.
No, I had to go check my messages when I was writing myself 12 play. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, I knew it had to be 12 play. If you said in
Yeah.
the 90s, 12 play was it. 12 play
Yeah.
was the album,
I just needed to
right?
go make sure. Am I
Yeah.
Give
No,
me
12 play
honorable
was
mention?
definitely.
honey
It was
love.
the album that I used to listen all the time was Boys to Men 2.
Okay.
I used to listen to that
That's a good one.
all the time. I used to just play that all the time.
That's a good one. Okay. All right. So Benji, talk to us. Let's hear that list, brother.
Top 5 albums. Okay. Anything Tony Braxton. Forget it. My lady, she watching this. She asked me who my celebrity crush was. I've kept this from you for
What's
a
the
while.
album, sir? Number 5.
Hold on. I'm trying to get this out.
He giving a shout out to his woman.
Listen.
This rule is always dysfunctional.
Tony Braxton. I don't care. Name an album. It don't matter. All of her music gets in play. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, I love all of her music. So there you go, Tony Braxton. I don't care. I ain't gonna put her in the 1 spot, but she can have the 5 spot for right now. Okay, so let's get to the rest of the albums. Machiavelli, Pop, got to be in there. Like that and Me Against the World. Huh?
That's 4.
That's 4,
right? You want to order? Okay.
3, the Doggy Style album. Number 2, Mary J's 411 album.
Fire.
Like I can play that whole album all the way through. I still think it is the best album she's ever made because for me, she wasn't bashing dudes, talking crazy. Like it was a love album, and that whole album to me is fire. Like, yeah, unbelievable, sick album. And then I'm gonna go because I love this album. I'm gonna go with Redman's Muddy Waters album.
Whew, that's a shocker.
It is, and I'm gonna say because if I'm just riding in my car and I'm in with my system and I'm just bumping, like there's just certain things like when I'm listening to an album that I'm just like, man, like this is off the chart. So I've loved that Redman Muddy Waters album, and I just like Funk Prognosis make your brain comatose. Like it just Funk Dr. Spock just get it for me. So
y'all see that?
It gets my number 1 spot.
It's a tear. It's a tear coming from my eye because y'all, if y'all grew up in the 90s and you listened to and you were rap heavy people, you know what Redman meant to the culture and still means to the culture, right?
Great.
But that album is one of my favorite albums. Didn't make my top 5, but it's one of my favorite albums ever. So to hear Benji mention that album unprompted, like we didn't see each other's list or anything, like it makes me happy, man. Now that's at the top of your list. That's crazy.
That's at the top of my list. I had to throw some honorable mentions because Ken know that album is heat. That's why this is hard.
Yeah.
Some honorable mentions that I gotta throw out 90s wise. I gotta throw out Scarface the Diary album, UGK Riding Dirty. Bone Thugs East 99 Eternal album. Like my cousin Philip loved
all
Bone Thugs. One album y'all might not remember, Compton's Most Wanted. The reason why I love it, You Can Get the Duck Sickers on that album. Crazy. Outkast, Southern Playlist, and Cadillac Funky Music. Those are honorable mentions. The 90s gave us some of the craziest music we probably will ever hear ever.
Yeah, that's why it's called the golden era.
Golden era.
All right. So, all right. Let's get to my list. My list. The reason why I made this face earlier, number 5, when Trisha Michelle said her number 5, because this is my number 5.
Right.
It's Baduism. Erykah Badu.
Oh,
It's crazy. So that's why when she said number 5, Erykah Badu, I was like, wait a minute, that's my number 5. Wait a minute. Wait a
Man.
minute. Okay. Okay. So my number 4 is gonna be Aquemini by Outkast.
Outcast. Okay.
Yep,
Oh,
by Outkast. I didn't choose Southern Playalistic. I love Southern Playalistic, but Aquemini to me is where they took a leap
That
and
leap
it
forward.
worked.
Right.
It worked.
Right.
It worked for
Right.
them, right? Number 3, the Low End Theory, A Tribe Called Quest.
Tribe Called Quest. Yes.
Yes, a lot of
ooh,
hits off of that. A lot of hits, a lot of, you know what I'm saying, like continuous play off of that one. All
Right.
right, number 2, and my number 2 is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. That
Okay.
has to be on my
it,
list, period.
it like has to.
That album
Ugh,
means a lot to me, period. Right. As far as, because I was a huge, fan of the Fugees as well. So
Right.
yeah.
when she came out with her solo project, I was like, this got to be amazing. And it did not disappoint at all.
Right.
Right. So y'all already know my number 1 is
It's gonna be some Wu Tang.
you know what I'm saying?
It's gonna
No,
be.
it's not just some Wu-Tang, because they had a ton of music in the
Right.
90s. But Enter the Wu-Tang, their first album, means so much to me that I have it on my wall framed. You know what I'm saying? And I have pictures with the members, and I have shirts, I have paraphernalia, I have a big Wu-Tang flag that my oldest son bought me in the roof of my studio. Like,
Right.
that covers the roof of my studio. Like, I love the Wu-Tang, and anybody who knows me knows that is facts, and it's been facts since
For a long time. Right.
1993.
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? It's no joke. Like, I'm with that, but I do have 2 honorable mentions that I have to
Okay.
bring up.
Okay.
Number 1, Me Against the World, Tupac.
Yes.
Solid
Yeah.
album. I
All the way
mean,
through.
amazing. But I have to counter that because we have an album. I have an album on the list that I used to listen to literally every night before I went to bed when I think I was about 16, and that was Ready to Die by Notorious Big.
B.I.G.
Right.
Okay.
So I had to balance the 2 because they had the beef. So can't mention one without the other. But
Right.
those
Right.
2 albums were really, what I'm saying, big albums for me that didn't make my top 5 per se, because I wanted to kind of, what I'm
Right.
saying, I didn't want to be all rap. I wanted to,
Right.
try
A
to throw
mix. Right.
some other stuff in there. But that Ready to Die album is very it's very raw. When you listen to it
It
now and you
is.
go back and listen to those lyrics, you're like, dang, he said what?
Yeah. He was.
Also,
He was going for blood on that album.
now I
That is for sure.
understand
Absolutely.
why my mom, shout out to my mom, was so upset when she would come in my room and I was listening to it. I couldn't understand it then. I was like, there's nothing wrong with this, mama. He just rapping about his life. But now
He knew
I'm
what she was
if
doing.
yeah, it's some stuff he
Raw
was
and
saying that
rugged.
I'm like,
They
whoa.
said Mama knows best.
Yeah, definitely. So with the GOAT of the 90s, what I'm saying, that's our next on the thing. I mean, yeah, I don't even need to go. Y'all already know who mine is, Wu-Tang Clan as a group.
Yeah.
You can pick any member, but I mean, for me, they're the GOAT of the 90s as a whole for me.
Right.
So Trish Michelle, how about you? GOAT of the 90s.
Go to the 90s.
I mean, I would be playing myself if I don't say Usher, because that's still somebody I fool with now.
Okay.
He started then, that's where he started his career. And it
Right.
just kept going from there. That's my way it started. And yeah, it continues. So that's mine.
Right.
Okay.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
All right. Benji,
This
who's
is
your GOAT of
hard.
the 90s?
This is hard because I got Pac or R. Kelly, and I have to give it to
R.
R.
Kelly.
Kelly.
R. Kelly's mine.
Listen, my favorite song of his of all time is "Body Calling." Like there's this one part in there where he says, "I can hear it miles away." Listen, bro, it's
I have it.
bro, like that song, the creativity on it is ridiculous. Like, it's just, who freaking talks about the body of somebody calling them from miles away? Like, I hear you calling, here I come, baby. We ain't talking on the phone.
Look,
I hear your body like
My
giving
thing
me
says
this crazy.
R. Kelly. Oh,
Right.
here. So he was on there too.
Man, listen, and listen, there's just so many artists out there. We didn't even get to mention Genuine and his element. We didn't mention D'Angelo and his element in the like 90s music, man, was a monster for real.
Well, you can't mention Genuine, just Genuine. I mean, because really, when you mention Genuine, you got to mention Timberland.
Right,
Timberland
Right.
developed the sound and
right.
developed
Missy
those
Elliott.
artists. Missy Timberland and Missy put them together
Right,
because a lot of times people don't talk about Missy behind the scenes because they just talk about her when she became an artist, but she was
right,
behind the scenes for a while on the production side behind a lot of this stuff that Timberland was doing as well. So,
Right.
got to mention Missy as well. So,
right,
but yeah, it's a lot of people that we're not going to be able to cover because there's just so much. It's so
right.
expansive,
It's,
and a
it's
lot of
too many.
artists, what I'm saying, came out at that time. It's a lot of artists that didn't make the cut that, we never
It's
heard from
hard.
again. But, it was a
R.
rough
Kelly.
time to come out and, because
We
I
ain't
mean,
even we ain't even mentioned Prince or Michael Jackson
well, we
or
already talked about them
yeah,
last
you
week.
get what I'm
So
saying?
I feel
But
like
that
they
just
got
goes to
they
show
got the
you like how
reputation.
crazy it is.
No, I felt like they got the praise they needed. That I was like,
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
let
I
them be
mean,
this.
You
I
let them
mean,
slide. Let them
yeah, I
slide.
mean, we know what they did. You know what I'm saying? We
Right,
know what they did in the 80s and the 90s. The 80s is kind of when Prince and Mike kind of, went to their levels, especially Mike as a solo artist, you know what I'm
right,
saying? Because, Mike been popping since he was what, 5. So
right,
so but as a solo artist, that's
It was
when
like,
Mike really came into his own in the 80s,
right.
and then the 90s he just went to, he just kept building on that.
Apex.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, because what Mike did in the 90s was, again, he and Quincy Jones
Right,
and that record label, they just kept taking the bar and raising it, right?
right.
When he came out with Remember the Time, that video, oh my
Yeah.
God,
And R. Kelly
bruh, a
wrote
mini
that.
movie.
Right. R. Kelly wrote that song.
So see, that's what I'm saying. So it's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we can talk about, but that's too much.
Right.
It's
It's a lot.
too much. We know what happened, but we just wanted to, what I'm saying, give you that list so you can kind of, what I'm saying, glean from, the type of music that we like and give you some
Right.
insight on our music. And you take those lists and discuss it with your friends as well, because we did have on my square in the audience, he has listed Wu-Tang Into the Chamber,
Right.
Biggie Ready to Die, UGK
UGK
Riding
Riding
Dirty,
Dirty.
Drew
Oh,
Hill
Drew
Into the
Hill
Drew,
album. Yeah.
ooh,
Jay-Z, Hard
yeah,
Knock Life, honorable mention, Nas, Illmatic. Illmatic changed the game.
Yeah.
Let me talk about that for a brief second. Illmatic changed the game because Illmatic was the first hip hop record where a rapper came out with all different producers. Before
Mm.
then, they had one producer and one rapper or a group of rappers, but they all had one producer, like the Wu-Tang. They
Right.
they
Right.
used the RZA, right? And Death Row was using Dr. Dre,
Dr. Dre.
and he had. But on Nas's album, he had a different producer on just about every song.
Wow. Okay.
So,
I didn't
what I'm
know
saying?
that. That's
Yeah.
dope.
So he started something with that because now, I mean, that's what people kind of aim to do.
Right.
They,
yeah. They,
Multiple producers on the track.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Give
to
it
have
different
different
feel.
sounds. Yeah,
Right.
to have different sounds. But you have had a lot of artists too who recently, in the last maybe 5 years, who have gotten back to that formula of going to one producer like Hit Boy and Nas. Hit
Right.
Boy and Nas have done four albums together
Right.
over the past 3 or 4 years. So I mean, they're emulating these formulas all over again, and just like everything in life, it's a cycle, right? It goes around and it comes back around. So we're starting to see a lot of the 90s songs and early 2000 songs being redone
Right.
by these artists, and it
yep.
makes you feel old because you're like, man, y'all redoing that song already? Dang.
Right.
Like it's old. Like, hold on.
You know what? And it's funny because I had to say this because when it messes with my mind when I hear people say that's a classic. I'm like, wait a minute. wait. So this is when you listen to an oldies station and you're hearing songs from when you were in high school and it's on an oldies station, you're like, dang, it is old. It is that old.
It is old. It's 30
That's
years
my
old.
name.
90s.
Wow.
It's 30 years old.
Yeah. So Yeah, 2024 is right around the corner. That sounds crazy to even say, but
Right.
yeah, here we
2
are.
years removed from a pandemic, right?
Facts. 3.
3. Wow.
Yeah. Going on 3. All right. So, what's your favorite song from the 1990s? From the 90s. This was easy for me.
This is easy for me too.
So, Wu-Tang, Cash Rules Everything Around Me, Cream Get the Money, Dollar Dollar Bill. Everybody knows that. So, that's my favorite song from the 90s. Trisha Michelle, what's your favorite song from the 90s?
This wasn't easy for me. Because as soon as I seen one, I thought of another, and I thought of like 10, then I thought of 15, then I thought of 20, and then I was stressed, and then I was mad. I do have Genuine Punk because that's what goes and plays, but then I also have Jealousy, Come and Talk to Me.
Yeah.
So those are my 2.
Wait a minute.
I got 2.
Wait a minute. Those are your favorite songs from the 90s, but they weren't your favorite songs when you was in the 90s, though, right?
No,
I'm like, wait a minute.
For me,
I mean, I'm just saying.
Really in the 90s for me because I was.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I can't lie to you. When we was 12 or 13, Benji can tell you, we was listening to a lot of stuff that we weren't supposed to be listening to.
Well, see,
right?
When I was 13, we was
Doodoo bro.
When I was 13, we was getting ready to jump to the 2000s.
Right.
Well, you got to take into context. For us when we were 13, there were some songs out like Marvin C, like the song we talked about the 70s and early 80s, Marvin C, Candy Liquor. Like we didn't know what candy liquor mean. We didn't know what kind of candy he was licking, but we was listening to it because our parents listened to it, and he was licking some candy. Yeah.
And
so
mama like that kind of stuff.
So it's crazy that again we look back at these songs and we like, man, what were we listening to? That was wild.
No, I wasn't that bad. I still look. I didn't even mention a lot of. I was in sync. Mariah Carey, Christina Aguilera, Backstreet Boys, Justin Timberlake. I was over there too.
Okay, Spice Girls is mentioned in the comments, and Spice Girls were huge
back then, right?
Very huge.
The girl groups
definitely in that bag too.
The girl groups and the boy group and the boy bands were huge.
Were huge. That's very
I was in that. When I was cleaning, whenever I text y'all, I was like, oh man. And Britney Spears came on, the other get tearing up my heart when I'm with you. That came on too, and I was like, hey. I was in here.
Right.
That's what I was listening to. I wasn't over here talking about Doodoo Brown and all that shit.
Yeah, that was Benji definitely looking at girl shape. You know what I'm saying? Shape. We didn't call it twerking back then. We called it scrub the ground. That's what we used to call it back then. Scrub the ground.
Scrub the ground. Scrub the ground.
Yeah.
Hey,
all right. So, all right, let's move on to the 90s movie soundtracks, right? When we were talking about the 90s, you can't talk about 90s music without talking about soundtracks, right? The soundtracks were actually some of the best albums that ever came out of the 90s, if you want to be honest, in my opinion. Right. So, I mean, I already see people mentioning things in the comments about the soundtrack.
Talking about real quick
and
we get into
the first one I see pops up, shout out to Brandon Friedman, is Above the Rim. You can't talk about 90s soundtracks without talking about Above the Rim.
Just facts.
All right, then we got New Jack City soundtrack.
Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah.
I Want to Sex You Up by Color Me Bad is on that New Jack City album.
All right, then we got Juice. Juice was one of those soundtracks where for me, like I said, it opened my eyes to Tupac. Right? Because I saw the movie and then my cousin had the tape. So when we listened to the songs, you know what I'm saying, I was like, dang, this dude right here is, you know what I'm saying, he's solid. I want to hear more from him. I ain't like his character in the movie, so it took me a minute to get past that. You know what I'm saying?
He played his role well.
Because we young, so we as a young person, you have a harder time distinguishing a person's character in a movie from them off, you know what I'm saying, not in the movie. Right. So he was a bad guy. He was terrible in the movie. So when I heard his songs, I'm like, I'm not really interested, not really trying to hear him. But once we figured out, okay, he's a different guy from what's on, in the movie as the character he played, then hey, we cut him some slack.
Right.
We cut him some slack. All right. So we'll go Benji here. We'll let Benji go first. Benji, what's your top 5 movie soundtracks of the 90s?
At 5, I'm gonna go Boomerang.
Okay.
Johnny Gill, There You Go is on that album. Breathe Again by my girl Toni Braxton. Like that joint was hot. The Friday movie, of course, with Q. That soundtrack was fire. One of the songs I love on that soundtrack is the song with Scarface, and I'm forgetting the other dude's name, but I could quote the lyrics for it. Number 3, I'm gonna go with Bodyguard, Whitney Houston, only because Whitney Houston got 2 songs on there that are transcendent, like just bananas. I Will Always Love You. That note she hit on that, just forget it. Just forget it.
Yeah, you forget it too. Don't try to hit it. Just go ahead and give us the list.
I listen. I ain't gonna sing it with my chest. No, I ain't gonna do that.
I wanted him to.
No, only in the shower. Only in the shower. Now we know, brothers. We know out there. There's a woman song that you sing, and you sing it with your chest when you sing it, because there's a woman song that's fire, and you know it. There's some out there. I know y'all out there. There's some women songs that you sing with your chest when you're in the shower. You be trying to hit that note. I know you do. All right. Gang Related with Pac in it is one of the ones, the albums I actually used to love. So he's got the What Would You Do If You Could with Me and My Crew. Like there's all types of
that's your number 1?
No, that's not my number 1. My that was 4.
Okay, right? So where you at? So number
my
5 was
my last one.
Hold on.
My last one is New Jack City. I want to sex you up on it.
So what order are you going in, sir? Because we're going 5 to 1.
I went 5 to 1.
Okay, because you're not saying the numbers, so that's why we're asking.
Okay, yeah, I went 5 to 1. Boomerang.
Okay.
Friday.
Okay.
Bodyguard.
Okay.
Gang Related.
Gang Related is 2. Okay.
2 and New Jack City.
Okay. Now, these are our own list. I have no problem with anybody's list, but Gang Related at 2 is kind of blasphemous, dog.
Hey man, listen, it was the era when I started really listening to West Coast hip hop. So to hear Snoop, the Dog Pound, all of them on that album, like that was, and to be honest, some of their best music. That's how I was introduced to them, as a whole, besides the Doggy Style album. So like that, I was like Pac and all of them together on that album. That was like peak Death Row. So like that was like some. I was like, oh shoot. I was like, all right. I like
peak.
That. I like
peak Death Row.
They were there
peak?
When they were doing Gang Related. They were there. They were in.
No, you're saying they peaked, not the album though, not the Gang Related soundtrack. Okay,
no, like Gang Related album. Soundtrack. No.
Yeah, okay.
Death Row as a whole was like.
All right. Well, this is your list. My apologies, sir. My apologies, sir. All right, Trisha Michelle, talk to us. Let's hear that list.
All right, y'all. So I have number 5 at Space Jam.
Okay.
Because I used to play that out. I have number 4 at Batman Forever.
Okay.
I have number 3 at Above the Rim. I have 2 at Waiting to Excel.
Yeah, that Waiting to Excel was pretty dope though.
And then I have 1 at Bodyguard.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
See, it's crazy because her list. I have an album in the same spot on my list, and the same album in the same spot. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
It's crazy.
High five.
Yeah, so it's weird. This is weird synergy because it's like, okay, we had the same thing happen last week. We had some of the same music on our list. So
right,
even though me and Trisha Michelle, we keep telling y'all this, we have never physically seen each other before. Right. This is, we just do the show virtually, and we record. Everything is virtual here. So, I've never seen Trisha Michelle in real life, y'all. So we gonna make that change in
First
by
time in
next.
24.
Yeah, so next season when we come back, we won't be able to make that a statement, right?
Right,
We can't
right.
say I
Right.
ain't never seen her before in real life.
Right.
That's gonna be done, right? So, but great list, Benji, great list. Trisha Michelle, you didn't have anything on your list that was questionable to me, so I have no argument. I can't even make an
Get your
argument for it.
go listen, go pop in the gang related album. I'm just saying soundtrack.
I
Pop
definitely
it,
am in the
go pop
morning.
it in.
That is going to be
Pop
one
it
of
in.
the first
Go pop it in.
albums I listen
No,
to.
I sprinkle in a little bit of that little thug in there, but then I have all my little R&B softness all in my little list.
Yeah. So
I mean, listen, There You Go by Johnny Gill on the Boomerang album. Listen, man, that's probably the best song on the entire album. So I mean that joint's fire.
I think that's one of the situations to me. Now, people might argue with me on this, but see, to me, with that album, the Boomerang soundtrack, the movie was better than the soundtrack,
Oh
right?
yeah, of course.
Right. So it's some of these soundtracks where the movie and the soundtrack were like this. Like you
Right.
can't say
Yeah.
one was better than the other, both were
Right.
fire.
Both for fire.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the Boomerang soundtrack, because I think Boomerang came out in 91, 92.
Yeah.
It was like at the beginning of them doing the soundtrack with the movie, and then it becoming like a big deal.
Right.
Where some of these other movies came out later and it was a formula by then, and you knew that the soundtrack had to be busting.
Right.
So you purposely, what I'm saying, went and made sure that it was at a certain level and you had these certain people, what I'm saying, on it.
Because my girlfriend was on there, Tony Braxton, you know what I'm saying? Breathe Again on the album. I mean, Boomerang, I mean, you got to put it all in there. You got to put it on there.
I was just trying to follow you. I was like, what?
All right.
Okay.
So before I do mine, I'm gonna read a few out of the audience. Some people have posted their list. On my square soundtrack of the 90s, he's got Friday. Don't be a menace. Don't be a menace was fire. Don't be a menace.
Yeah, it was.
Soundtrack was
Oh
fire.
yeah.
Society was sick. You can't lie.
Juice.
Don't Be a Menace almost made my list.
Yeah, Don't Be a Menace soundtrack was fire. Juice, Boomerang. Now, people don't confuse
Sunset
Don't Be a
Park.
Menace.
I gotta go check it.
Don't confuse Don't Be a Menace with Menace to Society.
Don't
We're
Be a
talking
Menace
about
is
Don't Be a Menace is the spoof,
the comedy one
with the Wayans brothers. Yeah,
I gotta go look. I gotta go
so
listen to that.
that soundtrack is fire. Sunset Park and Waiting Exhale, those are all fire. All fire.
That's a good list.
All right, so Brandon Freeman, let's see what we got here. He got at number 1, Above the Rim again.
Hey, that Deep Cover album with Snoop and Dre on. Yeah, that song is
Deep Cover is hard. I mean, me and Brandon had to talk about Deep Cover. Deep Cover is hard, but track for track, I don't know. Track for track, I don't know.
Hey, listen, Snoop and the Dre song. Listen,
yeah, that's the song. It's like, but you gotta have other songs on it.
Gotta have all the songs on there, right?
Like, you know what I'm saying? What other memorable songs are on there? We'll talk about that. He got number 4, Juice, and then number 5, Love Jones. Love Jones had a very dope concept to the movie, and then the soundtrack went along with it, and it complemented a lot of spoken word and a lot of kind of laid back, what I'm saying, jams on there. So I went and listened to that actually a couple of days ago purposely because I wanted to put it on my list, but it didn't make my list, but I did listen to it in its entirety. So yeah, so
I got to go back and listen to the Jason Lyrics soundtrack and see.
Man, I think you'll be disappointed, but we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that.
All right. So, all right, Tyrone McAllister. Shout out to Tyrone. He got Love Jones, Boomerang, The Bodyguard, Waiting to Exhale, Above the
Bodyguard, Waiting to Exhale, and Above the Rim are like everybody's got them on there.
Yeah.
Like,
so I'm telling you,
this is the culture. This is what we grew up. We grew up listening to this.
Okay, so let me run you off my 5. My 5 consists of, at number 5, I got Sunset Park. If you don't know the movie or you haven't heard the soundtrack, you're missing out. Go check them out. If you haven't, I know a lot of people seen the movie, but they didn't pay attention to the soundtrack. Go listen to the soundtrack, especially if you're a hip hop fan, a fan of rap. You got to listen to it. Fire. Number 4 is a doozy, and it's one that'll surprise a lot of people. Tales from the Hood.
Okay.
Tales from the
Oh
Hood
yeah.
has a fire soundtrack, and it is West Coast heavy. It's got some East Coast artists on it and some Southern artists, but it is West Coast heavy. But that movie is one of my favorites, and that soundtrack is
I haven't seen
fire.
that in a long time. Wow.
Okay,
Yes.
at number
True.
3, I got Belly. Belly
Okay.
soundtrack fire.
Nas.
I
Okay.
forgot about Belly. That was a
Belly
good addition.
soundtrack fire,
I
but
did. I
that
did
but
too.
they had an unfair advantage because it came out later in the 90s, and they knew that,
Yeah.
Hype Williams
Belly was
and
it.
you have all of the artists in the movie as well, what I'm saying, music artists, so that soundtrack had to be fire.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
Belly was
okay,
it.
at number 2, Waiting Exhale. Waiting Exhale is
Yeah.
just, I mean, that movie was something that I didn't understand at the time because I was so young, and a lot of the
Right.
songs
Right.
that accompanied it, I didn't understand, but I knew it was good. I knew the artists were fire. I knew the songs were solid. And as an adult, when I go back and listen to it, I have a whole new
Different
meaning
meaning.
and respect for
Right.
that album and that movie.
Right.
Yep.
So, at
And
number 1, Above the
Above the
Rim.
rim. I
Like,
knew it.
I
yeah.
mean, there's
I know.
no
I knew you would about to leave out above the rim. I knew it. I knew it.
Above the Rim changed the game for me. I love that movie. That movie is one of my favorites,
Yeah.
but that soundtrack, amazing.
Right.
And I think it was an amazing soundtrack because it embodied a lot of different types of, artists. But the crazy thing about it is I did not know this that Death Row did that soundtrack.
Yes. Yes.
I did not know that Suge had a lot to do with that soundtrack and
Yeah.
putting it together. That's why when you go and look and you see artists like Jewel on there, Jewel was one of Death Row's artists.
Definitely
So
artist. Right.
that's how she got on a album like that because Suge had a hand in doing that album. All right.
Right.
So, all right. So let's say, okay, from your favorite movie soundtrack song. So we had to pick one song from all those projects or from any project that will be your favorite song. Okay, so we're gonna go Benji this time. Benji, what's your favorite song from any movie soundtrack?
Man, that's tough. That's tough.
Please
Favorite.
answer the question.
Yeah, I got it right. I literally got it like several right here. The whole soundtrack list.
No, you
And
can't be several. One.
No.
One.
Oh, I
Okay.
thought he was gonna
So,
one.
just one. Okay, so I'm just gonna go because I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna go Honey Love off the Menace to Society album soundtrack. Honey Love, yes, all day, every day.
Okay. Solid. No argument from Big Ken at all.
Hey, give me that honey love. Yeah. Oh man.
That song's fire. All right,
Yes.
Trish Michelle.
Yeah, it is.
Something.
Gangsta's Paradise.
Baby.
You said what?
Gangsta's
Gangsta's Paradise.
Oh.
Okay. I have no problem. I have zero problem with that. I have zero problem. I totally get it. I have a funny story about that. My daughter has a Google right in her room, and she Googled a certain playlist, and the playlist was playing, and Gangsta's Paradise popped up on her playlist, and she said, "What is this mess?" I said, "Wait a minute, baby. You gotta understand that was long before you even thought about. Like that was when I was a kid. So just be easy, listen to it." And she listened to it, and by the end of the song, she said, "You know what? I'm gonna listen to it again and try to understand it." See, she gave it a chance.
Gave it a chance. Gave it a shot.
I understand Trisha Michelle choosing that song. It's a dope song.
Shout out to Baby Boston for picking
it's a dope
Gangsta's
song.
Paradise a shot.
It's a dope song.
Used
The movie
on a lot of different things.
It was the movie with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yes.
I can't remember the name of it.
I can't think of it. But you also hear a few different times too. Hold on.
Yeah. But I know it's on that soundtrack, and that's when it took off because it was on that soundtrack, and she was like a substitute teacher or something in that movie. But we'll do our Googles and we'll figure it out.
It was on Dangerous Minds.
Dangerous Minds. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That exactly. That movie. That soundtrack wasn't bad. That soundtrack wasn't bad.
No,
I remember that soundtrack.
Yeah.
Soundtrack wasn't bad at all. So yeah, shout out to Benji and Trisha Michelle for their selections. My selection came from the Above the Rim soundtrack, and a song that I listen to pretty often. It's a song called Pain by Tupac.
Tupac, yeah.
That
So much
song
pain, yeah.
embodies a lot of if I could pick one song from Tupac to introduce somebody to it,
You would pick
introduce
that one.
somebody to his catalog, that's the song I would choose.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
shows his gritty artistry, him storytelling. It kind of has a bunch of different elements of who he is and displays his artistry in that song. But and it's telling the story and it goes right with the movie. So, that song stood out to me when I saw the movie, and every time I listen to it, I enjoy it. So, that's my favorite song off of a movie soundtrack.
I
Right.
almost picked Rear View from the by Pac from the Gridlocked album.
See, that's one of those songs where I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't even remember that.
You don't remember Staring at the World Through My Review?
I don't remember it.
That was
Yeah, you gotta go check that one out. I
I
love
have
that.
to. Yeah, I have to
I check
revisit
that
that
one
said
out.
one.
you gotta do your Googles.
Gotta go do your
Yeah,
Google.
I gotta do my Googles. All
Google.
right, so
Google.
in the word, I forgot who said this. Which somebody was on trial and they kept asking them questions and they kept saying, "I don't recall.
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember.
I
I
don't
remember who
recall."
that is. I remember. I remember that. I
So
remember that. Hold
so
on.
wi-
No,
s-
I think that was NFL. I think that wasn't Marshawn Lynch.
it may have been, and I think Marshawn
I
got
feel
that
like
from
I
somebody.
feel like it was NFL.
I,
I,
I
I
don't. I
I think
no, that was
Marshawn got that.
Marshawn
I
Lynch.
think
He's like,
but
I
Marshawn
don't
got that from
recall.
somebody else though,
Right.
and I'm trying to figure it out where he got that from. But yeah, Marshawn did do that, and he kept doing it in a lot of in a
He
lot of
did it at the
interviews.
Super Bowl. I don't
I don't
recall.
recall. Like that's what I be feeling when some of this stuff, a couple of these songs that Benji mentioned, I'm like, I don't recall
I'm just
at
saying.
all.
You
I
gotta
don't
you gotta
recall.
go. Hey, if you listen to Above the Rim, if you go listen to Staring at the World Through My Rear View, like it letter, and if you like Pain from that Above the Rim album, you'll get you'll get a different feel with the Staring at the World Through My Rear View. Like I dig that song.
All right, so let me go into here and pull some of these songs from the comments of their favorite
Oh
songs from
yeah,
the soundtrack,
what
right?
y'all talking about?
So, okay, so we got For the Love of Money, New
Hey,
Jack
for the
City.
love of
But
money. Hey.
no, for the
Facts.
love of money, people
Yeah,
will
Oh
still
yeah, that
come down
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right.
I forgot
yeah.
that.
For the love
That's
of
the
money.
fire.
She's thinking of the Bone Thug version.
She's
Hey, still
young
for the
though.
love of
We
some type of
we
money.
we gonna give her
It's
a
all right.
pass because
Give me a
she's
Right.
pass
young.
for that one.
You we'll give her a pass on though. All right. So
We'll take it.
all right, so I don't know what
Hot
movie this
sex
is
on the
from. I
platter.
can't remember, but Hot Sex on the Platter. I
I
can't
think that's
remember.
from How to Be a Player, or if
I
that's
gotta
from
do
the
some
Jungle
Googles
Fever
because
album.
Tyrone, are
It's
you
it's on a movie soundtrack because I saw it. I saw it
find it?
I
listed.
think it's Jungle Fever. No, because Stevie Wonder wrote the
I can't
Jungle
remember.
Fever
Boom. He
album.
said some Boomerang soundtrack. Some Boomerang
Yes, it
soundtrack.
is. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, it is. It's on
Yeah.
the
So I
Boomerang.
knew it was
Yeah,
on there because I
yeah,
saw it, but I didn't choose it. But that song definitely fire. Definitely
yeah. That
fire
song is
song.
fire.
Oh,
All right. So
Google.
we got On My Square. He got Kissing You by Faith is on the Waiting to Hell. That song fire.
Yeah,
Okay.
That song
yeah.
fire. Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. All right. We got Above the Rim. We got Part-Time Lover.
Oh yeah.
Listen,
Steve.
Yeah.
listen,
Yeah.
listen, listen. Let me tell y'all something. If you grew up in the 90s and
Yes.
you knew about H-Town, Part-Time Lover, and you ever went to any party, you was
Yes.
grinding, you was either grinding on some girl or the girl,
Right.
if you was a girl, you was getting grinded on. Because
Hey.
when H-Town came on in a
Yes.
party, you better find you somebody to dance with, or you better
Shout.
leave.
Rest in peace to Shazam, or I believe the lead singer. His story is crazy, man. Like he was just leaving the studio, and him and this lady got into a car accident.
Yeah.
Someone hit him and took him out, man. But like we lost a great voice, great music, like so early, man, because they were just taking off. Like we had just heard their music. So hey, shout out to that situation. That was crazy.
Yeah, and while we doing that, we shouting out him. Shout out, Tony from the lead singer from High Five.
Yes,
Man,
Tony
High
Thompson.
Five
Yeah,
had a lot of hits. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Back in the day, straight out of Waco, Texas.
Right.
And kind of put that Waco on the map outside of the Branch Davidians.
Right.
And
Yeah,
you
that
know what I'm
was
saying?
his story was crazy too, but man,
So
yeah,
yeah,
man.
yeah. You know, and catch what I said, y'all, outside of the Branch Davidians,
Yes,
because
because that
when y'all talk about
Wacko was a
Waco,
little weird.
people
Yeah.
talk about David Koresh and the Branch Davidians, and we ain't trying to leave with that. So we're gonna say
Yeah.
high five.
The
You know
high
what I'm
five,
saying?
yes.
High five
Shot.
made Waco famous.
Facts.
All right. So all right. So okay. So we got Power Line song from the Goofy movie it was fire. Let's keep it
First
a
of
buck.
all,
Let's keep it a buck. Power
Hold on.
Line.
I ain't never heard it. I gotta go listen to
Go
it.
Google it. It's on YouTube. I guarantee you
hey,
it's got 1 million, it's got 14 million, 20 million views. I guarantee you Power Line was hard.
yes,
Oh.
The
yes.
Goofy
Power
movie soundtrack was hard.
Goofy movie soundtrack. Powerline. You wish you could go see Powerline in concert.
Facts.
That's the movie made you feel like
Hard.
when you
Yeah.
were
No doubt. So if you haven't heard it, go check it out. I stand by it.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. All right. So the next question I have on my list is when we start to try to figure out, what the music from now and back then, like how it could all come together. So, Trisha Michelle, we start with you today. This one. What current artist that was not around in the 90s? Because there was some artists that are still current that were around in the 90s. So I had to make that distinction, right? Do you think would be able to put out good music in the 90s? If you could take a current artist and drop them in the 90s, who you picking?
Chris Brown.
That's what I had last week. Yeah.
But I don't think he could in the 80s. No. I think he could put out 90s R&B.
Yeah.
I could hear it. I definitely could.
I hear him
I
put
definitely
90s
could.
R&B, not 80s. I can hear him put it down 90s.
Yeah, I definitely could. I have to agree with that. Definitely. Okay, solid pick. All right. Benji Banks, the man, the brand. Talk to me, man.
Moonchild.
Who?
Y'all probably don't even know who that is. Moonchild.
They're out now.
Yes. And they have that whole they have that Erykah Badu type feel.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? So
I know who you're talking about.
Still waiting to see them live. And as soon as they come to LA, I promise you, I'm in the first thing smoking. Or if I got to catch them in Vegas or somewhere, like I love their music, and I think it's chill, it's relaxing, it's not over the top.
I know who you're talking about.
But I love the production and all. And if you listen to a lot of Erykah Badu neo soul type stuff from the 90s, it gives you that same type of feel. Of course, Badu, just got a different swag to her whole thing. But Moonchild is actually like one of my favorite artists to listen to. I love their music as a whole. I think they would thrive in the 90s period.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree. Now that I had to think about it. I've heard.
You haven't heard them?
No, I'm gonna have to listen.
Go
put that on your list.
On tonight.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you just throw on a Moonchild album while you're just chilling and just vibe to it, it's pretty chill. It's pretty dope. One of my favorites.
I'm gonna have to do that. One thing I will say. I won't say their music they put out now, but their voice, Ariana Grande.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I think
voice wise,
I think her voice is real popish. So you could take the 90s pop, that 90s pop feel, and then bury and build around it. Yeah, I think you can do that. Right. Definitely. All right. So in the audience, we got SZA, we got her. So I see a couple of SZAs, a couple of hers. I agree with those two. Interesting. Brandon Freeman chose October London, in which we talked about. Kind of sounds like a young Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
I think he could. I think you could pull that off. I think you could pull that off in the 90s. Okay. So we have Dua Lipa for pop.
I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that. I could definitely see that. Okay, so My pick was J. Cole.
Jamiroquai.
That's who. Look, let me tell you, Big Ken. I'm driving home. You, J. Cole. Look, I'm driving home, and I swear to God, I'm driving. I'm like, what the heck is his name? And all I could think about is his damn song about getting some sex in school. And I was like, his song where he got
because J. Cole for me is refreshing as an artist because he's never been rapping about a lot of the negativity. He raps what he's experienced, and that's dope. And it's a ode to the 90s. And really and truly, when you look at his style and the way he raps and the way he carries himself, he appears to have walked out of a time machine from the 90s into now.
Yeah, because of how chill he is, right?
And
like he ain't over the top wild like most of the cats out today.
That is crazy. I was supposed to look his name up when I got home because I could not think of it when I was driving.
Yeah, so J. Cole's my pick. All right, so me and Benji gonna get a kick out of this. So on my square is clearly on the same vibe with me and Benji when it comes to a lot of the hip hop that he's been listening tonight. He had Benny the Butcher, Conway, but let me say something. On my square, they don't count. They count, but they don't count because even though they weren't out in the 90s, they are 40. So we can put them on the list, but they kind of have an asterisk. They gotta kind of have
older brothers. They older
because they older. They are almost 40, and one of them is 40 plus.
Benny just dropped a track with Stove God. So talking about 1 foot in, 1 foot, like he was around in that time. So he just wasn't as popping. You get what I'm saying? So
but those are definitely fire. We listen to a lot of Griselda. We listen to a lot of Benny, Conway, Westside, Stove God. We listen to a lot of it.
Listen, they'll have you in a chokehold, waiting for the new track. It's like dope. It's like dope. Like they'll be like, "Yo, when's the next track coming out?" Like, and it's them boys is ridiculous.
All right, and another artist that Brandon Freeman mentioned is Akeem Ali. Akeem Ali is very interesting. Is a very interesting artist. If you don't know who Akeem Ali is, do yourself a favor and Google this young gentleman. Bars. He can rap. He can rap, but it's crazy because he can rap, he'll never get the mainstream push, right? Because of his bars. And for me, you got artists that we'll talk about next week because we're going to do 2000 and beyond, like 2000 up until now. And you got artists like Toby Nwigwe, who has bars and actually grabbed and took off, right? But a lot of artists now that can actually rap, the record labels aren't interested because they're not pushing what the kids want to hear, right? The kids don't want to hear rap, right? They don't want to hear. They want to hear about what they. Let's just say, I'll say this, and I didn't mention this earlier. You have some people who listen to music because it takes them to a place that they've never been before and they can't go. And you have some people who listen to music because they can relate to it. Right.
Yeah.
So you have a group of kids out there who want to do drugs, who want to, party, who want to smoke, who want to do these things, but they can't yet. So they enjoy listening to it because they live vicariously through these artists. Right. And sadly, a lot of these kids, when they grow up and they're able to do these things, they gravitate to it because of that very reason.
Right.
But, for us, right, growing up, I was telling my son, we listened to a lot of stuff, crazy stuff growing up. And I never once thought about robbing a store. I never once thought about jacking a car. I never once thought about selling drugs. I never once thought about any of that. And I listened to that every day.
Right.
So
some of us see it as pure artistry, and that's it. Like we didn't think
mindset.
A lot of them were doing the things that they were doing. We just wasn't in it like that. We love the fact that dude got bars. He don't sound like nobody else, no matter what he sound like. And that's kind of how some of us took music.
All right, so
impressionable mindset.
All right, so let me grab a couple more of these off the list before we go to our last question here. We have on my square, he said another group, Coast Contra. And Coast Contra is a group of young men that also include Razzcast's son. Some of y'all may not be familiar with Razzcast, but Razzcast is a West Coast rapper. very, very lyrical. I mean,
Right.
super lyrical. So
Right.
it's not far fetched that his son would, would be the same,
With
right?
bars too.
The second wave of that. And also we have somebody mention Megan Thee Stallion. So let's talk about this briefly. A lot of people might disagree, but if you disagree, then what about Lil Kim? Because Megan Thee
Right. Yeah.
Stallion
Yeah, I'm like,
is Lil Kim.
actually, yeah, Meg
She's the
is
same thing.
She
yeah.
reminds me of Adina Howard to a degree
I think
in
in a way
terms of
her
yes,
appearance, but
appearance
I
wise.
think
What I
I
mean,
think it,
appearance-wise,
I really think it's still Lil Kim because Lil
it's
Kim is
still,
just
yeah,
Adina
all
Howard
of them
with
is biting
bars.
off Lil
right,
Kim.
right,
All of
Yeah,
them is
right,
biting off Lil Kim.
yeah. Lil
right,
Kim is Adina Howard with bars. Foxy
right.
Brown, Adina Howard with bars. Same packaging,
Yeah,
Same
right?
track.
They just had different levels of rap, and for me, people could argue this. And I tell people this all the time. Megan Thee Stallion raps about a lot of different stuff, or whatever, shaking and all this stuff to sell records. But if you really go back and do your Googles on her before the fame, this girl can really
yeah.
rap.
Right.
Like she
She
can
can.
really rap. Like she can really, really rap. So it's about, some of these
But
artists
to
that
be
come out,
cool,
this is who they are. And some of these artists, this is who they are to sell records.
Right.
Right.
yeah,
So
giving
don't
the
get it
people what they
twisted.
want.
Yeah, don't get it twisted because some of these ladies
Some of
can
these
really
chicks can't
rap,
rap. That's
and
true.
some of them are packaging.
Yeah,
Some of them are packaging. So you know
Right.
what I'm
And
saying?
if
there's
you
a
don't
few
know
of
who
there's a few of
Rhapsody
her.
is, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Facts.
Oh, that's true. That's true. There's a few of her freestyles that you can go and look up. She's got some little freestyle moments, and she's got bars. You gotta
Bars.
go catch them.
Yeah. And Rhapsody got bars, but unfortunately for Rhapsody, she doesn't
She
appeal
is a
to the masses
wild out
Yeah,
physically.
there. Right.
Well,
Right.
it's her physical appearance. Her physical appearance
yeah,
is not marketable
Right.
for a lot of those record labels. So she's with Jamla, and Jamla is a bunch of collective of people with bars,
Right.
right? So it's
yeah.
not going to reach the labels, and the
Right.
heights that some of these other ladies reach. But her messages are good. Her music is quality. So if you haven't listened to Rhapsody, go ahead and do your Googles and listen to Rhapsody as well.
Yeah, she fire.
Yeah.
Fire.
Put
All
that
right,
song up that she did
That was
with your
good.
boy Anderson Paak, and bro, it's fire.
we got to talk about that next episode because
Next episode, yeah,
Anderson Paak is, whew,
Yeah,
yeah,
Anderson
yeah.
Paak is good
say
for
man,
sure. And
I
listen.
still
yeah,
gotta
that
see him live.
2000.
I still gotta see him live. So
We got some good
I want to be there.
new
Yeah.
music too. Some good new
Now, next
artists too that we're gonna
episode
touch
is
on.
probably going to be probably be the most difficult because it's going to span 20 years,
Yeah,
Right.
plus
right?
it's so widespread.
Yeah,
So
but we
just
did this on
yeah,
purpose. We're trying to make it difficult for ourselves, and we're trying to. It's entertaining because we want to see the eclectic views of each person and how people consume music and what you listen to. So it's going to be very interesting.
Right.
All right. So this last question it's hard. It's the hardest question. I think it's
Trapper was
probably
It was easy for me though, because
okay.
I got my favorite already, so it was
Okay,
easy for me.
but here's the caveat, and I didn't put this on there. It can't be something that's already in existence. You can't give me something that's already in existence.
No.
Okay, all
It's
right,
gonna be easy.
all right,
It's gonna be pretty easy.
all
Even
right. We're gonna let you go first.
we'll see. Maybe.
We're gonna
Go
let you go
ahead. Go ahead.
first.
Go ahead. Go
All
ahead.
right, all right. So if you could put together a 90s track back in the 90s, you sitting in the studio in the 90s, what producer and two artists would you want on your track? Benji Banks, talk to the people.
Okay, so shout out DJ Quick.
Okay.
We have not mentioned him tonight. Very, very, very popping in the 90s, as we know, still popping now. But if I could have him as my producer and then do a Kendrick and a Stove God track together,
They weren't in the 90s.
Quick was.
Yeah,
Are
but
you talking
the
about?
artist,
Are you
yeah,
talking about?
the artist and the producer have to be from the 90s.
Oh,
All
okay,
from the
okay.
90s.
Okay, so I read that one wrong. Okay, I got that one wrong because I was like, I gotta throw what you call it, but no, Kendrick. Okay, I'll put it like this. Give me Quick, give me Earl Sweatshirt.
It wasn't around
And
in the 90s.
he was around in the 90s.
No, it wasn't.
He's Kendrick's a mentor.
Early 2000s. He was with he's with Tyler the Creator. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had Kendrick on there, and I read that one wrong. Kendrick and Stone. I was like,
So
man.
we'll go ahead and go with what you got. We'll go ahead and go with what you got. Next week, Benji will follow the instructions, and we'll explain, we'll explain
One
them
can
to the
only
fullest.
hope.
Right.
One can only
So
hope.
okay, but no, the track that he's talking about, I can envision it with those artists, so I can hear it. I like it. I like the idea. All right.
I listen. Quick as a producer, give me that and throw anybody. But if you could do Moby, who did several of Pac albums. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of ways you can go. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, give me
All
quick
right.
on the album. So,
All right, bet. Trish Michelle, you got something or you want me to go?
So I have a unfinished thought, and then I have my sisters. I'll give you my sisters.
Okay.
go ahead.
Talk to us.
My sister says Daddy Child and In Vogue with Jermaine Dupri.
Oh.
That's what she says.
You know what? That could be an interesting concept, kind of like the boys' mind type, like they going back and
That's what kind of
forth.
came in, like a little.
Yeah,
That's what I
back and
kind of
forth. Yeah.
because I was like, and I was like, I mean, they kind of seem like they would go at it more than they would be like, so it would be kind of like a little competition over the vibe, because But I mean, I could see it. They could put a little track together. Then I was thinking, I don't know why, in my head, the Malia Lauryn Hill, Brian Michael Cox. I don't know. That's what's in my head. I feel like there could be something fire there.
That would be interesting.
I feel like I see a track in there.
Brian Michael Cox did a lot of stuff for a lot of people, so I think it would fit. I think he would be able to craft something. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like that, and I don't know why I said Lauryn Hill, and my mind just went there, and then I think Brian Michael Cox could do it.
Yeah. So
that's
yeah.
fine.
All right. So when I tell people this, the producer, if you're not familiar with hip hop, you're probably gonna be lost. It's a guy, rest in peace to Jay Dilla. Jay Dilla is behind the Detroit sound of the 90s, early 2000s, a lot of soul samples, a lot of chops. When you listen to Kanye, when you listen to a lot of these new producers that use soul samples, a lot of them are, disciples per se of Jay Dilla. So, what I'm saying, that camp out of Detroit, Jay Dilla, I got Erykah Badu, and I got Black Thought from the Roots.
Oh, that's a killer one right there, man.
Yeah. So Black Thought from the Roots is very, very slept on. And I'm glad that he's starting to get some flowers now. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
Crazy
he's starting
lyrics.
to come out with his own projects. And during the pandemic, I think a lot of people stumble across a freestyle that he did on Funkmaster Flex show. And it was mind blowing. It was mind blowing.
He did drop two little mini albums.
He got some EPs. He got some EPs and he got some albums out. But he has a song called Black Thought vs. Everybody on there. And that song,
everybody.
Like he left, as we say, between that freestyle on Flex and that song versus Everybody, he left Earth.
Yes.
And people were like, okay, now we see the hype behind, because in the 90s the Roots were bananas.
Right.
Like the Roots were everywhere, right? I think they were the group that were everywhere but never everywhere. As they say, they were everywhere but never there. Right.
They got more press for the drummers and stuff, the production behind
people
everything.
Heard the music, but they didn't associate the music with the visuals. They didn't see them a lot and they didn't know what they looked like.
Right.
They just know it was a group of guys. It's kind of like the Wu-Tang. People knew the Wu-Tang, but they knew the music, but they didn't know anybody but Method Man.
Right.
And that was me for a long time.
Yeah, so you know what I'm saying?
I did my Googles, which wasn't Googles back then. And then, Wu-Tang is the whole thing.
Yes, it's a collective of 10 guys. Yeah. I can give you a whole history lesson, but I think the show that they came out with during the pandemic really put a lot of people on. and
It,
a
it,
lot of
it,
people gave the Wu their flowers because they understood the story, even though the story wasn't exactly true. You know, it was dramatized for TV, but you know, a lot of people
exactly.
understood why people gravitated to them, and they're the Rolling Stones of hip hop, pretty much. You know, they're that
Right.
group that you look at and you say, wow, you know, they still around, they still touring, they still selling out arenas. You know what I'm saying? So, but all right, so we got some more coming in. This is okay. On my square said this is an easy one. So Easy Mo B,
Yeah.
Jay-Z, and DMX. That's an interesting track.
Not
That would be
Jay-Z and X alone, but Easy Mo B, good grief. Because he did some great production
That,
work, man.
I wanted the vibe there. That's interesting.
yeah, and quiet is kept. Some people don't know that Jay-Z, DMX, and Ja Rule were in a group at first, right? They had a group of they were all in one group. I can't remember the name right off. On my square probably knows it. I have it in my mind, but um it's called the Murderers, right?
Mm,
Murder Inc. Well, it's called Murder Inc. So Murder Inc. Before Irv Gotti did the record label, Irv Gotti had Jay-Z, DMX, and Ja Rule all together in one collective. So they were going to do an album, but as you know, history would turn out they never did the album.
did that right.
So
So
Jay-Z,
according to X, Jay-Z didn't want to do no album with him. He was a little bit too much to be doing an album behind with X. So
well,
according
they
to
were
X,
well, as someone mentioned in the comments earlier, you got to remember in the 90s, hip hop was super, super competitive,
right,
right? A lot of those guys were really rappers, right?
right,
They didn't just make rap. Like if you see them on the street, they would freestyle in front of you. They
right.
would go head to head, and there's footage of and Jay-Z on the documentary Backstage
Mm-hmm.
of them freestyling back and forth in the backstage session, and it's amazing, right?
Right.
Because that's the type of environment they came from. There's stories of Busta Rhymes, Jay-Z, I think Busta Rhymes, Jay-Z, DMX, Jay-Z, and I think ODB or somebody else. Like they all went to the same high school and they
Right.
had freestyle battles against each other. That's the environment that these guys came
Yeah.
from, that, you know what I'm saying, birthed their hunger for the music. And you can hear
Yeah.
it in the art when you listen to their music. And you know, for Jay-Z and Busta Rhymes, I mean, those guys are still around and
Yeah.
still
Yeah. That's
relevant
dope.
and still making music. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And sadly, you know, with DMX, I feel like if he had in the past, he would still be making music as well.
I
I
agree.
believe so. I
He had
So
such
agree.
a great run, though, man. It was crazy.
that night, the year 98 is probably one of the greatest years on record for an artist to come out with 2 platinum albums in 1 year.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah,
and
it's
then on top
bananas.
of that, he had the Belly album in between all that.
Right.
So he had a great run. He
Great
had a
run.
great
Yeah.
run. Definitely. All right. So we have Brandon Friedman. He's got, you know, this is near and dear to my heart.
RZA
He got
premiere.
the RZA, DJ Premier,
Hmm.
producer with Jada Kiss and Scarface. Fire.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
Okay.
here's a
Jadakiss
here's
Scarface.
here's a little bit of history lesson. Some people don't know this. All right. So this is one of those typical black stories, right? Where we know people because they married to people we know. So a little bit of history about Big Ken. I got my first exposure to hip hop really from the East Coast because of DJ Premier.
Right.
DJ Premier is married to one of my older cousins.
Hmm.
Well, his sister is married to my older cousin. And I went to go visit them. They used to take us. Shout out to my cousin, that's the linebackers coach for the 49ers. That's DJ Premier is his brother-in-law. So they're at the house. He has a bag full of sample tapes.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And tapes of Guru and Gangstar and just all this rap. So he gives us these tapes. So one of those tapes, it's a sample with Wu-Tang, I think, and Mobb Deep, and it's like some other groups on this tape.
Hmm.
So this is my first tape that I actually have in my hand that I can listen to at my disposal. My
Right.
parents don't know I have it. So this is my introduction to hip hop of my own, right? Not my sister
Right.
telling me what to listen to. This is what I listen to. So this is why I love Wu-Tang so much, because it was the first really rap that I listened to that I owned.
Right.
Right.
So,
Yours.
you know,
Yeah. Yours.
so shout out to DJ Premier for introducing me to that. And of course, you know, DJ Premier is iconic in the
Yes.
hip hop community
Especially
and in the
with
rap community.
Gangstar and
Yeah.
Guru and yeah.
Yeah. He's done it all. He's worked with everybody. If there's somebody to be worked with in the community, he's worked with them. So shout out to him. And hopefully one day we can get him on the show. At least
Hey,
get him to, you know what I'm saying, shoot us a little video or something.
facts.
That would be huge. So shout out to them,
Yeah.
man. So, all right. So we got some other comments coming in. We mess with some of these comments. Let's see here what we got. All right. We got Wu-Tang was its own culture in hip hop, still doing their thing. Facts. That is a
Big time.
fact. I mean, the following is crazy. If you go to a Wu-Tang concert, still to this day, you will see a whole bunch of guys in there smelling like Bengay and what's the other stuff? Biofreeze.
Biofreeze.
Oh my God.
Liniment.
Jumping around,
Tiger Balm.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, jumping around and having a great
Tiger Balm,
time,
yeah.
man. Dope, dope, dope. And it's a lot of love, man. A lot of love in those concerts. When Wu-Tang came to Dallas, they had Nas with them, they had Busta Rhymes with them. Great concert. A lot of dope vibes there. It's just a bunch of old people enjoying some good music, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to them,
It's
man.
good time regardless.
Yeah, facts. All right. So on my square is commenting. He said the group Jay-Z was supposed to be in is called The Commission with Biggie. The Murder Inc. thing was just the song It's Murder. Okay. So yeah, that's also true. The Commission with Jay-Z and Biggie, that was supposed to happen, and that never came to fruition. But there's a bunch of stories behind in the lore of hip hop that we've heard over the years that never came to fruition, that might be true, might not be true. We don't know.
Right.
It never happened. So, you know, and unfortunately, Notorious Big is not here to tell us if it was true or not.
Right.
So, you know, I think that's the downside to hip hop. And, you know, I think that whole East Coast, West Coast thing put a black eye on hip hop.
Right.
If you could
sold
say
a lot
that.
of records though, but I mean,
Sold a lot of records, but at what cost, as they say,
Yeah.
at what cost, you know what I'm saying? Because you lost two great individuals, you know what I'm saying, during that period of time. And I often sit and think about what music would sound like from them later on, you know what I'm saying?
Now.
When if they were able to grow with their music, what would Tupac sound like at 35? You know, what kind of movies would he have come out with? What would Biggie sound like at 35? Give them a chance to mature, give them a chance to live some more life, and maybe turn a leaf and do some different things, some more positivity. For Biggie, he had kids, he didn't have a chance to raise his kids. You know, those type of things that you look at in retrospect. And one other rapper that, you know, I'll mention that a lot of people don't talk about much is Big L. If you're familiar with, you know, East Coast rap, if you're not, go Google Big L. Big L had a hand in a lot of those rappers that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, because they sound like Big L. But you wouldn't know that unless
you listen to you knew Big L, right?
Unless you knew Big L. So, you know, man, I mean, music is such a huge thing, and we're just talking about primarily rap and hip hop here, but pop music, you know, rock music. I laugh all the time, and I tell people one of my favorite songs is Black Hole Sun. If you don't know what Black Hole Sun is by Soundgarden, go to YouTube or go to Google and Google that song. The video is trippy. The song is dope. It's a vibe. And that's one of the songs I was introduced to. Now, I got some people in the comments that I've seen all night mentioning Daft Punk.
Oh, yeah, Daft Punk, yeah.
Hey, Daft Punk was it.
Daft Punk
I'm just telling you, man. Listen, don't y'all forget about Jamiroquai. I'm just saying.
Man, Jamiroquai I forgot about. But Daft Punk to me, their greatest work was Random Access Memory album, and that didn't come out to the 2000s. So we'll talk about that next week.
Next week.
That's why I left some of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that album, that Ram album, Random Access Memory album, because Ram is crazy, but
Right.
That's Punk that's dope. Okay.
that Punk is
Okay.
fire. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we'll talk about that. And we have Brandon Freeman. Yeah, Brandon, we mentioned DJ Screw. He said DJ Screw. Hold on, it popped up. He said DJ Screw with Nas and Tech Nine.
Tech
That's
Nine.
interesting.
Oh.
Tech Nine is one of
Yeah.
the goats of underground rap, right?
Just give me beats by the pound, and we could do some work.
You know what? Those guys are actually still making beats and actually producing.
Right.
So I actually reached out to KLC, Beats by the Pound. So hopefully we can get him on the
Get
show
him on the show
for next
Yeah.
season
Oh,
as
that'd be
well.
lit.
So yeah, we've been reaching out to people. So
Okay,
shout out to
24.
anybody that's, you know what I'm saying, that's lobbying for people on our behalf. If you know anybody that you have reached with, that
We'd
you know
love
you
to
would like to
interview 'em.
see interviewed on the show, we would definitely reach out to them. And if you plug us in and you know them, I'm pretty sure they'll take your vote of confidence, you know what I'm saying, and be more than likely to oblige us. And we appreciate that. But we're looking
Yes.
forward to
And we will promote it, and we
oh
will
yeah,
put it
facts.
out there, and we will
Oh, for sure.
Ken will create the dope ads, and we will host a dope interview, and we'll make it liver than what it was. I can promise you that.
Okay, so she's saying their greatest work was their movie album, Daft Punk. So I'm gonna have to go check that out.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go
Right.
it
check that
was.
out.
I remember watching that with her when we were younger.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna have to go check that out for the next episode. So, like I said earlier, we talked about the 80s, 70s, and 80s last week. Today, we discussed the 90s, the golden era, and next week, the next episode, and it will be our final episode of the season. We will be discussing music from 2000
2000s.
to now, 2000 and beyond. So it sounds crazy because y'all got to understand,
Y'all gonna put the baby in there?
we were born. Yeah, we got to talk about that. All that. We were born prior to the
Yeah.
90s. So when people say 2000 and beyond, when we was kids, that sounded crazy.
Yeah.
It's like we're 2000.
Except for the young boy Trisha on there, we in our 40s.
The world was supposed to end.
We thought the world was going to end in
Yeah,
2000.
we thought the
This is
Mayans
crazy.
was taking everything over.
Yeah,
The Mayans was
Y2K.
taking over.
Y2K. Is your computer Y2K compliant? Is your electronics Y2K compliant? You know what I'm saying? We was wilding. We thought the internet was gonna collapse. All that
kind of stuff.
And none of it happened. And here we are.
Lying to us since.
Facts. You know what? I ain't gonna lie to you. Yeah, they sell fear. We'll just say that. We're gonna leave it at that because we don't need the feds barking up our tree. So they sell fear. They sell fear, people. But yeah, next week is gonna be very, 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 very difficult to create those lists. It's a lot of music, man. But
it's a lot.
But hey,
90s. That's crazy.
The 90s was easy for me because I guess I had so much music, but I
should have
had favorites.
I should have worn this next week.
Well, wear it again. It's just a hoodie. Wear it again.
I know my boys, Drake, man.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about old Drake. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but no, seriously, people talk about Drake all the time, and people have their opinions. The dude is a monster. Period. We'll talk about that next week. 2000 and beyond.
Yeah. He ain't on my list.
Yeah, you wildin'. But anyway, let's talk about this before we get up out of here. Trish Michelle, let the people know something before you get up out of here.
Hey, we mentioned Daft Punk, but I just want to say Pharrell didn't use the sample from Daft Punk.
Pharrell.
Anywho, and that was also used by Kanye. That was also used by Drake. But so
you said,
it was
hold on. Rehash that. Repeat that.
Daft Punk, One More Time, was used. So Pharrell used it. I believe Rihanna might have used it. Drake has used a Daft Punk sample. And who did I just say right now after that?
Kanye.
And Kanye. They've all used Daft Punk.
Yeah, so, I believe it.
Daft Punk is. So if y'all just go immerse yourself in that to be ready for next week.
We're
Daft
up
Punk
all
is,
night
is
for good fun.
Yeah.
Daft Punk is
Now,
dope.
now I have Random Access Memory on vinyl. I love that album, and I went and purchased it. I went and found it at a store when I was out in Cali, and I went to the store and they had it on vinyl, so I bought the vinyl. Yeah, dope, very very dope cover, and I'm telling you, I'm really into music, so I do buy vinyl. So when I come out to Cali, it's some of the best time because I go to
You get
Amoeba.
stuff to the
I go to Amoeba and I go crazy.
Yeah.
So shout out to
So that's
Amoeba
gonna
in
be cool.
California, Los Angeles, man. I go crazy in
You
Amoeba.
know, that's the fire session is about to link up, which is about to be another great thing of 24. But
Yep,
outside of
yep,
that,
yep. Yep,
I'm
in person,
excited.
y'all. In person. Take some
In
pictures. We're
person,
gonna have all that.
we're gonna have to, you know me. You already know me. I'm gonna have videos. You know, I'm gonna have content. You know, I'm gonna be posting. So that's gonna happen. So stay tuned for that. And I mean, if y'all just here for today, y'all need to subscribe and follow and get everybody's and see the names up there. Follow us because like we're about to link up real soon.
Yeah.
And we always dropping content. So like, don't play
No, I
with
got
us.
I gotta, you know what I'm saying? We gotta get the crew to, you know what I'm saying? I gotta kick it with y'all officially.
Facts. So
All
Trisha,
of
so Trisha
So
Michelle
anyway,
was
follow me
yeah.
Instagram _YT. And then of course on TikTok, on YouTube, Trisha Michelle. Also of course on the fire session. This is where for sure you can't figure it out. You figure it out here.
Facts. I like that. I really like that. All right.
love it.
Benji Banks, the man, the brand. Talk to the people.
What's up with it? Listen, growing the platform. So listen, y'all keep following. This thing gonna take off. Shout out to those who've been rocking with us. Shout out to my boy Ken for he's been putting in work for a while, creating the dope ads, putting the music behind it, the whole nine, everything. Uh, Bringing us on board, making this it is what it is. Y'all keep tuning in, man. We're gonna keep hitting y'all. We got content for years now. So, and we're gonna keep pushing it. And then we're gonna keep creating good content. So y'all keep following the Facebook, keep telling your friends. Remember, like we don't just talk about the same stuff. We talk about different types of topics. So y'all keep looking for us. Find me, Benji Banks. You can't miss me. I mean, we out there. Platform is growing on Facebook, and so literally getting more access to the fire session as much as possible. And we're gonna keep growing this thing, man. We in it, and we're gonna keep growing it. We done hit 20,000 on Facebook now, and I'm my goal is to get to a mill. So if we get to a mill on Facebook, that's gonna be a milestone moment. So we're gonna keep pushing for that. Follow on Instagram, BRB4701. I'm about to delete everything off of that and start new and start putting all new stuff up. So be on the lookout. We're gonna scrub the whole page and we're gonna start putting just some specific stuff up there so that we can continue to grow the platform. So we're making it happen. All right. So y'all keep looking, y'all keep following, and we're gonna make it. We're gonna continue to bring you dope content. So keep following.
Facts. All right. Well, I appreciate those two as usual. Y'all can catch me at Big Ken's Comedy on IG, Big Ken's Comedy on Twitter, Big Ken's Comedy on Facebook. Y'all can catch the fire session on all social media platforms. Just type in FIYAH session. We'll pop right up. Make sure you go to YouTube, like and subscribe. Shout out to the people checking us out on YouTube already. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you hit that little bell notification so you can get notified every time we post new content and every time we go live, because you don't want to miss the conversations that we have. You're able to get involved in the conversations in the chat. Next season, maybe we'll have the opportunity to have people actually call in, right?
Yeah.
And join the conversation as well. So that's what we're working on. We're just trying to build the platform so we can provide more opportunities to further conversations about many topics that can be talked about, right?
Right.
So if you have topics and if you have ideas that you would like to see us do or come to fruition and you can't do them yourself, but we have the ability to do that, hit us up. Shoot us your ideas. We want to do what the audience wants to see, right? We're going to provide you great content. We're going to, as we say all the time, put the medicine in the candy. We're going to give you some entertainment, but we also want to educate you as well. So shout out to everybody that came through tonight, kicked it with us, was in the comments. We appreciate all the feedback and all the love that's been given. we ask that you would return on next week. We're gonna be talking about 2000 and beyond, and it should include it's part 3 of the trilogy, as Trisha Michelle pointed out, and it should include everybody. Like everybody should be able to be included on the 2000 and beyond because we're all here. Shout out to God. Because we're still living and we're
here. We're still
here.
Y'all grew with the music. Y'all grew with the episodes to the 2000s. Y'all made it.
That's a fact. Right. That's a fact. And like Ben just said, we from Dallas and we still her. You know what I'm saying? We're still here. That's not just Nelly. It's not just St. Louis. It's Dallas too. We still her.
We came up talking like that. We still her.
All right. So shout out to y'all, man.
I need you to follow me over there. But make sure you come back over her.
Man,
you know what I'm saying? And let me put a plug in your ear.
Yeah.
You're gonna be all right.
All right. So we appreciate y'all, man. It's been a joy. Y'all get your list together for the 2000s. It's gonna be wild. It might be a little all over the place.
Shout out to the people that really got their list.
People came through.
Shout out to y'all for
putting
their content together. Like, not just showing up. You showed up with some info.
And shout out to the people who also commented on the post that we posted, you know what I'm saying, and provided their input there, because we were able to look through those and might have been inspired by that as well. Right. So shout out to you for putting that input. And like I said, next week, 2000 and beyond. We want you here. We want your input. We want to hear from you. You're going to hear from us. And it's our last episode of the season. So it's your last time to get that fixed before 2024. So make sure you tune in so we can
close out with us.
Yeah, so we can show that love before the new year. All right. So y'all already know how we do it. It's the fire session. Peace.
Thank you for joining us today. Please follow us on all social media platforms. Just search Fire Session.